Chapter 873. Ning Fan's fish body turned into a ray of purple golden light. He swam towards the surface of the tribulation pond and leaped out of the water. The moment Yu made a leap, he reached a height of 3,000 li. The formation light in the 3,000 li of the sky was as hard as a wall. Ning Fan's head crashed into the formation light just like that, causing his head to bleed. The array light only trembled slightly, and not even a crack appeared on it. When he returned to the tribulation pond, his blood immediately dyed it red. Countless barbarian fish began to mock Ning Fan, laughing at his futile attempt to escape. The tribulation emissaries who were guarding the edge of the tribulation pond shook their heads and chuckled. They did not think that Ning Fan could escape from the grand formation of the tribulation pond. This world is a cage, and everything in the world is a prisoner. You're just a barbarian fish, so how can you hope to obtain freedom? Our lives were created by the heavens and earth, so naturally, they should be taken back by the heavens and earth. You should follow the will of the heavens, so how could you hope to obtain immortality? The words of the Calamity envoys were a little harsh, causing Ning Fan's eyes to turn slightly grim. This formation light isn't weak, there's an extremely strong will inside the formation light. The key to breaking the formation is the collision of wills. Battle Yin Yang, unseal. As soon as he activated the Black Star technique in his body, the injury on his fish head immediately healed. As soon as the seal on the Yin Yang battle was lifted, the willpower of the grand formation was immediately weakened by Ning Fan. Ning Fan leaped out of the water surface once again and crashed into the grand formation. This time, Ning Fan's head was still bleeding and the fish scales fell off. However, the grand formation was also cracked by Ning Fan. Impossible. Why was he able to create a crack in the array light? But we can't do it. Countless barbarian fish were in disbelief. It is Jie Shui's power. This barbarian fish is actually the Great Firmament Tribulation Spirit. Outside the formation light, the expressions of the tribulation emissaries changed drastically. They could feel the chi of tribulation blood that was spreading out from Ning Fan's body. They were unable to understand why a grand heaven tribulation spirit would appear in the barbarian fish clan. Immediately, several people sent a sound-transmitting flying sword into the distance. After a few breaths, a woman stepped on azure lightning and arrived. She was a tribulation spirit from the upper realm, and her name was Qing Neruo. Shockingly, she had the cultivation of the 8th eternal tribulation. Fan family's tribulation emissaries greet Lord Green. As revered Green has seen, a tribulation venerable has appeared in the barbarian fish clan. One by one, the Fan clan's tribulation emissaries kowtowed to the Green Lightning Lady in fear and trepidation. It's not the real Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit. In the past 10 years, not a single Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit has been born in the upper realm. I don't know where the calamity blood in its body came from. Its chi is very disgusting, it's very similar to the red yaksha. I don't like it, kill it. Qing Na Luo's phoenix-like eyes turned cold and she gave the order to kill Ning Fan. When the tribulation emissaries of Fan family heard this, their faces immediately turned pale. How would they dare to kill the Taitsung tribulation spirit with their lowly status? However, this was Qing Naluo's order, so he had to obey it. The tribulation emissaries gritted their teeth and finally mustered up their courage to activate the formation plate, trying to kill Ning Fan with the power of the grand formation. Sensing the intense killing intent in the grand formation, Ning Fan's expression changed and he looked at the edge of the tribulation pond. As he looked, he actually saw a familiar figure behind the calamity emissaries. It was the woman with green lightning whom he had killed. It's her. I didn't expect that I could borrow the power of illusion to deduce the ancient times and see her in the past. When she was at her peak, she was actually an immortal sovereign who had undergone the 8th tribulation. That woman with green lightning was the innate lightning spirit that Ning Fan had killed in the second round of the tomb competition. The grand formation was an ancient sword formation. As soon as the killing formation was activated, black and red sword rays slashed across the sky above the tribulation pond. Ning Fan circulated the power of the calamity blood in his body to the maximum, emitting the power of calamity sense, which easily shattered the sword rays. This grand formation couldn't kill him. He crashed into the Grand Formation again and again, and finally, a hole was made on the Grand Formation. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan turned into a ray of black and red light, flashed past the formation light and left. The barbaric flash sword formation was actually broken. Is this the divine ability of the Taitsung Tribulation Spirit? The other Tribulation emissaries' faces were filled with shock. Qing Naluo's pretty face turned gloomy. At the moment when Ning Fan broke the formation and escaped, she actually sensed a trace of unusual qi from his body. She didn't know why the qi of the calamity blood in Ning Fan's body was very similar to hers. Why does this barbarian fish have the qi of my calamity blood? That's right. I understand now. When the Red Yiksha betrayed me, I destroyed his corpse but also lost a lot of his calamity blood. Could it be that this barbarian fish had devoured some of my calamity blood at that time and evolved into the Taitsung Tribulation Spirit? Humph! How dare you devour my calamity blood? You're courting death. Qing Naluo sneered. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and revealed her true form of a thundercat. Immediately, she turned into a ray of green light and chased after Ning Fan. Lightning flashed in the cat's eyes. Immediately, boundless illusory power swept towards Ning Fan, forming illusions. Illusion technique, huh? It's just an illusion. How dare you chase after me? How arrogant! Sensing that someone was chasing after him, Ning Fan's eyes darkened. He displayed the Fuli clan's innate ability to reflect the illusion technique. If this place wasn't an illusory realm and Ning Fan was facing the real existence of the Green Lightning Lady, it was absolutely impossible for him to reflect the illusion technique of an immortal emperor with his current cultivation base. Unfortunately, the Green Lightning Lady was just an illusion while Ning Fan was a real person who had entered the illusory realm. In this illusory realm, the Green Lightning Lady's illusion technique could not bewitch Ning Fan at all. Bang! As Ning Fan shouted, the Green Lightning Lady felt pain in her eyes and black blood flowed out. She withdrew her thunder cat form and stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. She was a dignified immortal emperor who had undergone the 8th tribulation of the ancient times. Her illusion technique was actually broken by a barbarian fish who had yet to break through to the true form. How could this be possible? Hee hee. Qing Naluo, you're really getting worse as you age. Your illusion technique was actually broken by a mere barbarian fish. Keep. Suddenly, an evil-looking man wearing purple battle armor appeared in front of Ning Fan. His face was as pale as a ghost and he was as thin as a match. The purple-armored man raised his hand and summoned a skeleton that was surrounded by purple lightning. 2 rays of purple light suddenly shot out from the hollow eyes of the skeleton and swept past Ning Fan. Immediately, Ning Fan was kept into the internal space of the skeleton magic treasure. Zi Lu Luo. Why are you here? Qing Naluo knitted her brows and her eyes flashed with cold light. Hee hee. The reason why I'm here is because of the Tribulation Lord's order. Red Yiksha has betrayed the Tribulation Lord. The Tribulation Lord has ordered both of us to go to the illusory realm and eliminate him. What? Go to the illusory realm? With my identity as the Tribulation Spirit of Taitsung, entering that realm will only result in death. Qing Naluo's face was filled with fear. Hee hee. So what if it's death? Do you dare to disobey the Tribulation Lord's order? However, before we go to the illusory realm, I'm very interested in torturing this barbarian fish. A barbarian fish that can break your illusion technique is very interesting, isn't it? Zi Lu Luo smiled evilly and turned to leave, leaving Qing Naluo alone with a gloomy expression. In the world of skeletons, there was a boundless black ocean. The barbarian fish that Ning Fan had transformed into was swimming in the ocean. He leaped to the surface of the ocean again and again, trying to escape from this place. However, he realized that he couldn't do it. I've already broken through the Tribulation Pool Grand Formation. My mind is supposed to be free. But I didn't expect to be trapped by that purple-armored man again. This is clearly an illusory realm, but the feeling it gives me is so real. Roar! Suddenly, the roars of beasts resounded from the black ocean. Countless ferocious sea beasts were swimming towards Ning Fan. Hee hee. Before we go to the illusory realm, I have plenty of time to play with you. Don't disappoint me. This black ocean is refined by me using the Four Symbols Blood Spring. It's a supreme treasure for cultivating the Tao image. Stay here and fight those sea beasts. Fuse into my Tao image. The purple-armored man's voice resounded in Ning Fan's ears. Then, he stopped talking. The purple-armored man's original intention was to imprison Ning Fan with the skeleton magical treasure and force him to fight against the sea beasts. Then, he would slowly fuse it into his Tao image and turn it into his own power. He did not think that Ning Fan, who was trapped in the world of skeletons, would have any hope of escaping. Before going to the illusory realm, he still had other things to do. Thus, he naturally did not have the time to pay attention to Ning Fan. He went into seclusion to study other abilities. Four Symbols Blood Spring. The water of this black ocean is actually the Four Symbols Blood Spring. While dodging the attacks of the sea beasts, Ning Fan was observing the water of the black ocean. His eyes were filled with surprise and joy. In the illusory realm, everything was illusory. Cultivating here would not improve one's cultivation base. However, even in the illusory realm, Ning Fan could still do some things to improve his strength. Refining pills in the illusory realm would not improve the cultivation of one's medicine soul, but it could increase one's alchemy experience. Cultivating in the illusory realm could not increase one's cultivation, but it could increase one's comprehension. Even though the four divisions blood springs were illusions, they were different from ordinary illusions. The Four Symbols Blood Springs were natural treasures born from illusions, and they were used to cultivate Tao images. Even though the Four Symbols Blood Spring in front of him was just an illusion, it had the miraculous effect of assisting in the cultivation of the Tao image. However, the Four Symbols Blood Springs could only be used to cultivate high-grade Tao elephants. Low-grade Tao elephants could not be cultivated through the Four Symbols Blood Springs. Ning Fan had 2 Tao images in total. One of them was the Devil Dark Knight while the other was the Tao image of the Big Dipper. Although he had cultivated 2 great Tao images, he had only cultivated them to the initial success realm. If the Tao image was mastered, it could even form a supernatural power that could be transformed into a Tao technique attack. If the Tao image was perfected, it could even cultivate a Tao blood, greatly increasing the level of a cultivator's bloodline. However, the cultivation of the Tao image was too difficult. Even the ancient cultivators could only cultivate the Tao image to completion. Very few people could cultivate the Tao image to completion. Right now, even though he was trapped in the illusory realm, he had a great opportunity to use the Four Symbols Blood Spring to cultivate his Tao image. The Four Symbols Blood Springs were also divided into different types. The blood springs that formed this black ocean had dense demonic energy. He could use it to cultivate the demonized Night Tao image, but the effect of cultivating the Big Dipper Tao image was not good. That violet-armored man wants to use this spring of blood to trap me and make me fuse into the Black Sea to transform into the power of his Tao image. Unfortunately, his plan is bound to fail. Tao Mammoth, appear. A devilish light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. Immediately, the world of skeletons fell into darkness. This time, Ning Fan did not summon the Tao image of the Big Dipper. Instead, he only summoned the Tao image of the demonized Dark Knight. The eyes of all the sea beasts that attempted to besiege Ning Fan dimmed and they were lost in the darkness. Ning Fan controlled the power of the Tao elephant of the Dark Knight realm and frantically devoured the blood spring of the Four Symbols in the seawater. The Dark Knight Tao manifestation became more and more solid, and its aura grew stronger and stronger. After 10 years, the power of the demonized Dark Knight Tao manifestation had doubled. After 100 years, the Tao image of the demonized Dark Knight Tao manifestation had finally reached grand completion. After 1,000 years, the Four Symbols Blood Springs in the Black Sea had been completely devoured by Ning Fan. However, the Tao image was still far away from breaking through to the grand completion realm. The violet-armored man went into seclusion for 1,000 years. Naturally, he did not know that a great change had occurred in the world of skeletons. At the moment when Ning Fan devoured all the four symbols' blood springs, the world of skeletons cracked from the middle with a cracking sound. Ning Fan's eyes seemed to have turned into extreme darkness. His body disappeared in the night and reappeared outside the world of skeletons. The expression of the violet-armored man who was comprehending his divine ability suddenly changed. He took out the purple skull magical treasure that was broken into two halves from his storage pouch. He was in disbelief. The four symbols' blood springs have been devoured by that barbarian fish. Impossible. This barbarian fish has yet to enter the true realm. How can he cultivate the Tao image? Even if this barbarian fish was talented and had cultivated the Tao image before the crossing truth realm, the grade of its Tao image wouldn't be too high. How could it be qualified to devour the blood springs directly? Only a heaven-grade Tao image can directly devour the blood springs for cultivation. Even I don't have a heaven-grade Tao image. Thus, I could only settle for the next best thing. I used the skull magical treasure to condense the spring into a sea to improve the cultivation of the Tao image step by step. This barbarian fish actually devoured the blood springs directly. How did it do that? The violet-armored man's eyes were filled with madness. He suddenly raised his head and looked outside the cave. In the sky outside the cave, there was a dark escaping light speeding away. It completely blended into the night silently. What a strange escaping light. It can actually blend into the night completely. There was no sound at all. If I didn't cultivate the seven tribulations secret technique, I wouldn't be able to sense this escaping light. Humph. A mere barbarian fish wants to run away after devouring my blood springs? You won't be able to escape. The violet-armored man sneered. He took a step out of the cave and chased after Ning Fan. However, before he could catch up to Ning Fan, the illusion of Ning Fan's body collapsed and disappeared. The entire illusory world collapsed at this moment. Before the violet-armored man could catch up to Ning Fan had already broken free from the illusion. When his consciousness returned to his body, Ning Fan opened his eyes again. A devil light flashed in his eyes and the world immediately fell into darkness. This darkness was a Tao technique that Ning Fan had cultivated after his demonized dark night Tao image reached grand completion. This Tao technique was only at the initial stage. It wasn't perfect yet, but it seemed to be an illusion technique to trap the enemy. Ning Fan had yet to test its exact power. He would only know after trying it out. After dispersing the darkness, Ning Fan looked at the true illusion river that was flowing in reverse. His eyes were filled with a hint of confusion. Were all the illusions that he had experienced fake? If they were fake, how could he cultivate the Tao image to grand completion? Fake illusions could cultivate the Tao image and increase one's experience in pill concoction. Were these illusions fake? Did they never exist? After a long time, Ning Fan finally got rid of the distracting thoughts. He broke free from the illusions of his mind and once again disturbed the will of the true illusion river. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ning Fan spent a day to strip away 1/3 of the Tao illusion of the stone bridge. 2/3 of the entire stone bridge had turned into a real bridge. At the center of the river, the third purple golden whirlpool was forming bit by bit. As soon as the whirlpool was formed, the will of the true illusion river immediately returned to its original state. Then, a ray of purple golden light that seemed both real and illusory flew out of the whirlpool and went into Ning Fan's glabella. This time, Ning Fan did not avoid it. Instead, he allowed the light to trap his mind in the illusions. He knew that as long as he breaks the illusions for the third time, the will of the true illusion river would be disturbed again. At that time, it would be the time for him to completely extract the Tao illusion of the stone bridge. There was only one illusion left before he could complete the true illusion bridge. Ning Fan appeared in the illusions of his mind once again. This time, he was a barbarian butterfly. He was currently in the Fan clan of the ancient wild region. He was flying in mid-air, looking down at the tribulation emissaries of the Fan clan who were kneeling on the ground. All of the cultivators of the Fan clan below him, regardless of their cultivation bases, were expressions of indignation. In front of them stood a two-headed old man with a cold expression. That person was the barbarian ancestor. Old ancestor. Have you really decided to sacrifice all the living beings of the wild region? Isn't this a little too cruel? One of the cultivators of the Fan clan gritted his teeth and said. Cruel? Humph. As long as I can become the true Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit, so what if I have to sacrifice the entire wild region? I still need 3 million nascent souls. With another 3 million nascent souls, I can become the true Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit. With my quasi-saint realm cultivation base, if I have the tribulation sense, I can even put up a fight against a saint of the Shio clan. Activate the immemorial dust-defying formation. I want to sacrifice the blood of the wild region here. Chapter 874. Blood Sacrifice in the Wilderness. It was just 4 simple words, but they contained the craziness of the barbaric ancestor to become the tribulation spirit of Grand Firmament at all costs. One of the barbaric ancestor's 2 heads revealed its white teeth. Its smile was cold and horrifying. Its eyes shimmered with a scarlet tribulation light. The other head had a sorrowful and pained expression. It wanted to speak, but it could not speak. In fear of the barbaric ancestor's might, the Fan family's tribulation emissaries all lowered their heads, not daring to breathe loudly. Once upon a time, the boorish ancestor had a grand dream. That dream was to use his existence to protect the living beings of the desolate lands from the invasion of other races. However, ever since he started cultivating the calamity arts, the Boer ancestor's personality turned colder and more ruthless. Now, in order to cultivate the true tribulation blood and become a Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit, he did not hesitate to sacrifice the entire desolate land. Barbaric ancestor has changed. The Fan family cultivators sighed, but no one dared to disobey the barbaric ancestor's orders. On the other hand, Man Dai, who was in the form of Ning Fan, stared at the barbaric ancestor below with a solemn expression. Ning Fan was not the only barbarian butterfly in this place. However, he was the only barbarian butterfly that possessed spiritual intelligence. All the other barbarian butterflies had blank eyes. With Ning Fan's eyesight, he could naturally see that there were 2 wills inside the barbaric ancestor's body. One was the Boer ancestor's own consciousness, while the other was the consciousness controlled by the tribulation will. The one who wanted to sacrifice the wildlands was the consciousness controlled by the tribulation will. As for the barbaric ancestor's consciousness, he was no longer able to resist the corrosion of the tribulation will. He was unable to control his body and could only watch helplessly as the tribulation will controlled him. Step by step, he was sacrificed to the wilderness. Is this the power of the tribulation will? Even the barbaric ancestor who has the cultivation of a quasi-saint can only become a marionette once he's controlled by the tribulation will. That is. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed as he looked down. The Fan family was located in a desolate mountain valley that was obscured by sandstorms. With the Boer ancestor's order, all the Fan family cultivators took out their array banners and stood in various parts of the valley, waving them. Amidst the rumbling, countless ravines appeared in the valley. As Boer ancestor formed a seal with his fingers, the ravines immediately began to move and connect with each other, forming a gigantic rift. At the same time, a gigantic statue of the ancient man of the berserkers rose from the crack in the ground. After that, 5 more ancient barbarian statues rose from the crack. All of the 6 ancient barbarian statues were in the form of beast statues. The savage beasts carved on them had strange shapes and evil chi which Ning Fan had never felt before. Even though they were just 6 lifeless ancient barbarian statues, they could still vaguely hear a strong heartbeat. 6th barbarian ancestor, 7th barbarian ancestor Fan Ma Kong, please manifest yourself and lift the seal on the ancient dust-defying formation. Ancestor Barbaric cupped his fists and bowed towards the 6 ancient barbarian statues. Then, he took out 10,000 inverse nascent souls and sacrificed them to the 6 ancient barbarian statues. In an instant, the 6 statues of the ancient god of the berserkers started spinning on the spot, emitting cracking sounds. The ancient statue spins, the dust formation opens, imprisoning all living beings in the world. Just as the barbaric ancestor's voice faded, the entire sky of the wilderness shattered like a mirror. Tainted black-red tribulation clouds surged out from the cracks as thunder rumbled incessantly. It was as if an all-consuming will had enveloped the entire wildlands. Cracks spread out across the land, and light flickered as they connected to form a spectacular spell formation. The spell formation was so large that it covered almost the entire wildlands, and divided it into 42 spell formations. It was a scene that shook heaven and earth. As the formation light spread across the land of the wildlands, it immediately shattered and turned into 42 spell formations. Countless living beings screamed and wailed in agony as they fell to the ground. Be it the barbarians or the wild beasts, as long as their cultivation base was at the first step, they would not be able to withstand the power of the formation light. As soon as they were enveloped by the formation light, their bodies began to dissolve into a pool of blood. The pool of blood seeped into the formation light bit by bit, turning into the energy needed to activate the grand formation. In this era, the barbarians did not have any cultivation base. There were still many barbarians like the cultivators of the Fan family who had cultivation base. Those barbarians and wild beasts whose cultivation base had reached the second step flew into the sky in horror. They did not understand what was going on. The barbarian butterflies beside Ning Fan did not have much cultivation base. As soon as the formation light was activated, their bodies immediately exploded into a mist of blood. The mist of blood also fused into the formation light. With Ning Fan's abilities, he naturally would not be blown up by the formation light. However, his eyes were filled with astonishment. With his eyesight and his understanding of the secret word force, he could naturally see that the power of the grand formation that covered the entire wildlands was unusually terrifying. The 6 ancient barbarian statues were the key to activating the grand formation. The tens of thousands of defiant infant souls that served as sacrifices were also the key to activating the grand formation. More and more blood fused into the formation light. Gradually, the sky was torn apart by countless blood-red cracks and blood rain began to fall. The mountains began to collapse and the rivers began to dry up. The blood-red flood began to engulf the entire wildlands. The entire wildlands seemed to have turned into a world of blood. It was as if doomsday had arrived. No one knew how many living beings had fallen under the annihilation of the grand formation. Even though Ning Fan knew that this place was an illusory realm and a replay of the ancient times, he was still greatly astonished. Even though he had been killing for a long time, he had never seen such a crazy act of blood sacrifice. This slaughter was too heavy. Second revolution of the ancient barbarian statues, reverse dust formation, devour immortal cultivators with blood. The barbaric ancestor once again sacrificed tens of thousands of defiant infant souls to the 6 barbarian statues. The 6 barbarian statues rotated again amidst cracking sounds. The sea of blood that engulfed the wildlands immediately emitted a boundless suction force. Any barbarian cultivators and wild beasts whose cultivation base was below the crossing truth realm were all sucked into the sea of blood. When the suction force swept towards Ning Fan, he only swayed a little. He did not fall into the sea of blood from the sky. Even though he was not the crossing truth realm, his strength was far beyond that of an ordinary crossing truth realm cultivator. Thus, it was impossible for him to be sucked in by the suction force. This barbaric butterfly is obviously not at the crossing truth realm, but it can withstand the blood-devouring force of the second revolution ancient statue. The sky behind Ning Fan was suddenly torn apart and a group of cultivators wearing black monk robes walked out of it. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat. All of a sudden, he felt a strong sense of danger behind him. Just as he turned around, there was already a gigantic tribulation sense palm imprint that blotted out the sky. It slapped him with tremendous force, causing him to lose his balance and fall towards the sea of blood below. The power of that palm imprint had obviously reached the level of an ancient attack. That palm imprint did not have the intention to kill Ning Fan. It just slapped him into the sea of blood below. At the moment when he fell into the sea of blood, Ning Fan clearly saw that it was a group of 3-eyed black monks who slapped him into the sea of blood. Each of them had a vast chi of tribulation blood which was comparable to the strength of an ancient cultivator. All of them were the tribulation spirits of the Taitsung realm. Hiss! It's the upper realm's tribulation spirit. Countless fan family cultivators exclaimed. Tribulation monks from the upper realm. Why have you come to my wilderness? Asked the barbaric ancestor in a deep voice. Barbaric ancestor's words only received a sneer from the three-eyed black monks. What's the reason? Hee, it's naturally to stop you from becoming the tribulation spirit of Taitsong. If the ancient statue transforms 3 times, then the nascent soul will be reborn. You're just a slave from the barbarian wasteland. How dare you dream of becoming a tribulation spirit of the upper realms? This immemorial dust-defying formation is a gift given to the first Berserker ancestor by the Culpa Lord. Before you, there were 6 Berserker ancestors who tried to use this formation to cultivate the body of a tribulation spirit. Unfortunately, all of them failed and died in the formation, turning into a statue of the god of Berserkers. You're the 7th and the last one. The wilderness is only a place where the Tribulation Lord raises the defiant nascent souls. All the defiant nascent souls raised by you slaves belong to the Tribulation Lord. You don't have the right to use them for yourself. The quality of the inverse infant produced in the wilderness is too low. The Tribulation Master no longer needs the wilderness, and he no longer needs the Fan family. 7th Berserker Ancestor, Fan Makong, you can die now. Ning Fan did not know what happened in the end above the Sea of Blood. The moment he sank into the Sea of Blood, the words he heard were the words of the group of three-eyed black monks who wanted to kill the barbaric ancestor. If this place was not an illusory realm, Ning Fan would certainly die after being devoured by the Sea of Blood. Fortunately, this place was just an illusory realm. Even after sinking into the Sea of Blood, Ning Fan only felt a sharp pain in his mind. His butterfly body did not collapse. However, it was not easy to struggle and fly out of the Sea of Blood. As soon as he sank into the Sea of Blood, he actually lost control of his body. That feeling was similar to the time when the tribulation sense entered his body and he could not control it. This Sea of Blood was formed by the blood of countless living beings in the wilderness. It contained the negative emotions left behind by countless living beings before they died. Outside the Sea of Blood, there seemed to be a heaven-shaking and earth-shattering battle. Perhaps it was a battle between the barbaric ancestor and the black monks. A day passed. The ripples of the battle gradually subsided. It was unknown who would emerge victorious between the group of black monks and the barbaric ancestor. 2 days passed. The sky above the wilderness began to resound with countless wails. 3 days passed. The wilderness fell into dead silence once again. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. Ning Fan was trapped in the Sea of Blood. It was difficult for him to move and he could not escape. Every day, he had to endure the torment brought by the Sea of Blood. Being trapped in the Sea of Blood, the only thing he could do was to study the grand formation under the Sea of Blood with the help of the word force, the immemorial dust-defying formation to improve his Tao of formations. It was only after 1,000,000 years that the Sea of Blood evaporated completely. Only then did Ning Fan finally break free from the Blood Sea Grand Formation. After 1,000,000 years of tempering, Ning Fan's willpower had become even more indomitable. For 1,000,000 years, Ning Fan only did one thing, and that was to study the immemorial dust-defying formation that the Lord of Tribulation Sense gave to the wilderness. The diagram of the Grand Formation was too profound. Even after studying it for 1,000,000 years and comprehending the word force, Ning Fan only managed to understand a small part of it. If it's someone else, they might not even be able to understand a small part of it. After 1,000,000 years, Ning Fan broke free from the shackles of the Sea of Blood and returned to the wilderness. Only then did he realize that the original 6 ancient barbarian statues were all broken. In the place where the ancient barbarian statues were broken, there was a new 2-headed barbarian statue. It was also full of cracks. The appearance of the new ancient barbarian statue was extremely similar to the 7th barbarian ancestor. After 1,000,000 years, the 42 regions of the wilderness had already taken shape. The group of black monks in the past had also disappeared without a trace. The Fan clan and barbarian cultivators no longer existed in the wilderness today. There were only a few barbarians who had no cultivation base at all. There were only barbarian beasts that were transformed from the barbarians. The barbarian bulls, barbarian fish and other living creatures of the wilderness could no longer be found. They had already gone extinct, 1,000,000 years ago, on the day when I was slapped into the sea of blood. What exactly happened in the wilderness? Was it because of the incident on that day that the wilderness was divided into 42 regions? Was that why the barbarian ancestor and the Fan clan disappeared from the wilderness? Such a wilderness would probably become the battlefield of the divine race and the demon race after millions of years. I built the bridge and borrowed the illusory power of the true illusion river to enter the ancient wilderness 3 times. If it wasn't for that, it would be impossible for me to know these secrets of the ancient wilderness. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the sky. There was a faint layer of purple golden clouds in the sky which contained the will of immortal sovereign Zido. The exit to get out of the illusory realm was within this purple golden cloud. Ning Fan spread his butterfly wings and flew towards the purple golden cloud. As soon as he got close to it, the cloud immediately disappeared and he appeared outside several barbarian regions. Following the trace of the cloud's chi, Ning Fan flew across several barbarian regions and found the purple golden cloud again. Before it could even get close to the clouds disappeared once again without a trace. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. He unsealed the power of the yin-yang rain technique and activated the heaven-peering rain technique to its maximum. His spirit sense locked onto the cloud. His barbarian butterfly body shone with golden rays. He displayed the golden light technique and dashed towards the cloud. His traveling light was not slow, but the cloud was moving faster. No matter how he chased after it, he could not get close to it. Even if he used the heaven sealing technique, he could not stop the cloud. Since he could not get close to the cloud, he could not use the exit to get out of the illusory realm. That cloud contains immortal sovereign Zido's will. Is that will trying to trap me in his mind and not allow me to leave? That will doesn't allow me to build the bridge. That will doesn't allow me to cross the true path. That will isn't targeting me alone. It's targeting the millions of Tao Guardian cultivators. The exit is obviously in the cloud, but it is deliberately avoiding me. It's avoiding me as fast as I chase after it. If I just keep chasing after it, I'm afraid I will never be able to catch up to it. Ning Fan's eyes flickered and he had a hint of enlightenment. On the path of cultivation, it would be hard for one to attain the great Tao if one only practices diligently. However, if one pursues the great Tao blindly, one will forever be left behind. Just chasing after it will never be enough. If there are no other exits in this illusory realm other than the exit of the cloud, then I will create an exit that belongs to me. So what? Will. The key to getting out of this illusory realm lies in will. I want to tear an exit out of this illusory realm with my will. I want to leave this illusory realm. I want to build the bridge. I want to cross the true path. Ning Fan no longer chased after the cloud. His butterfly wings kept flapping, stirring up fierce astral winds that tore the sky apart. Within the astral winds, Ning Fan's will to get out of the illusory realm no matter what. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. Ning Fan repeated the action of tearing the vast sky apart. His obsession and will fused with the sky and gradually, he tore a hole in the sky. The sky was also protected by a will. However, that will was being torn apart bit by Ning Fan. I see. Ning Fan seemed to have understood something. He flapped his butterfly wings and flew out of the illusory realm. In front of the true illusion river, he opened his eyes again. His eyes were filled with determination as he stared at the reverse flow of the river. The will of the true illusion river was once again disrupted by him. He moved at lightning speed, stripping away all the remaining Tao illusions in the stone bridge, turning the Tao illusions into real bridges. However, he had yet to step on the bridge. He had yet to start crossing the true path. After going through 3 illusory realms, Ning Fan's understanding of will continued to deepen. Gradually, he saw some clues about the true illusion river. The bridge that he created was not much different from an ordinary real bridge. However, there was a huge difference in the internal structure. All of the 108,000 real bridges on the True Illusion River contained the will of the immortal sovereign. However, the bridge that Ning Fan created lacked that will. I have yet to fuse my will into the bridge. Thus, this bridge is still not considered as a real bridge. In the first illusion, I turned into a barbaric bull and walked with a mountain on my back. In the second illusion, I turned into a barbaric fish and swallowed the sea and went against fate. In the third illusion, I turned into a barbaric butterfly and tore apart the sky. All of the three illusory realms were created to help me understand the meaning of will. The will that the immortal sovereign left behind in the True Illusion River seemed to be trying to stop the future generations from building the bridge. However, it was actually to let the future generations understand the importance of will. The ancestral dragon Zhu Li had also tried to build the bridge. Other than me, there were more than 40,000 outstanding people who tried to build the bridge. However, all of them failed without exception. I don't believe that those people failed because they couldn't break through the illusory realms and break the will of the True Illusion River. I would rather believe that they couldn't fuse their will into the real bridge. This might be the reason why they failed in building the bridge. Ning Fan walked towards the bridge step by step. He placed his palm on the bluestone pier at the head of the bridge. His eyes suddenly turned as crazy as a devil. With my order, from today onwards, this bridge will be a real bridge. Without any unnecessary action, a will that was as firm as the mountain, as deep as the sea and as vast as the sky was immediately added to the bridge. That was the will that Ning Fan wanted to create the bridge no matter what. Only with this will, the bridge could be considered as a real bridge. This young man has actually built a real bridge. At the bottom of the True Illusion River, the river demon was shocked. Just as Ning Fan expected, most of the people who failed to build the bridge failed in the test of will. Du Zhen was not to let the cultivators search for the true Tao but to train their will. If one's will was higher than the heavens, if you want the heavens to be real, then it will be real. If you want it to be illusory, then it will be illusory. True and illusory only existed in a single thought. It was meaningless to pursue the true Tao. Just by pursuing it, one would never obtain the true answer. It was just like the meaningless action of chasing after the clouds. Unfortunately, there were very few cultivators in the future who cultivated will. Most of them were blindly pursuing the true Tao that was hard to find. I want to. Du Zhen. Ning Fan took a step on the True Illusion River. As soon as he took that step, he could clearly feel the will of the entire True Illusion River pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to move an inch. Ning Fan gritted his teeth. His eyes were wide open and green veins popped on his forehead. Under the heavy pressure of that will, even his blood could not flow. His body was completely defenseless against that powerful will. However, his will would never be suppressed by that will. I want to. Du Zhen. Du Zhen had become Ning Fan's obsession. The stronger one's obsession was, the stronger one's will would be. Ning Fan's face gradually turned pale. His whole body was drenched in sweat, but he still struggled to take the second step, the third step, the fourth step. Every time he took a step forward, his aura force would grow stronger and his cultivation base would increase by a bit. Every time he took a step forward, his will would grow stronger by a bit. When he took the last step and stepped on the northern bank of the True Illusion River, a wave of aura force that could shake heaven and earth immediately spread out from his body, causing the water of the True Illusion River to splash on the shore. At this moment, Ning Fan successfully crossed the True Illusion Bridge and his cultivation base broke through to the early True Illusion realm. At this moment, Ning Fan was no longer a life immortal realm cultivator but a true immortal realm cultivator. Just breaking through from the peak ghost profound realm to the early Du Zhen realm was already a qualitative difference. Ning Fan could feel that after successfully crossing the True Illusion River, his magic power was already 5 times stronger than before. In the past, Ning Fan's magic power was already comparable to a peak early Du Zhen realm cultivator. Now that he had successfully crossed the True Illusion River, there were not many cultivators who could surpass his magic power in the mid-Du Zhen realm. Is this the power of the early Dujin realm? Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He clenched his fists and turned to look at the bridge with a satisfied smile. Stepping on the northern bank, Ning Fan continued to look towards the north. There was another true illusion river in the north. It was the second true illusion river within the heavenly Tao. After crossing this river, one would become a mid-Dujin realm cultivator. Ning Fan's gaze penetrated through the second true illusion river and easily found the true bridge of Tao Wielder on it. After building the first bridge, all the other true illusion rivers had a bridge. The bridge has been completed. In the future, I won't have to go through so much trouble to break through the other realms of the true illusion realm. As long as I have enough magic power, I can cross the river. I have quite a lot of Tao fruits with me. If I refine all of them, my magic power would probably be enough to break through the bottleneck of the mid-Dujin realm. However, I will need at least 10 years to refine these Tao fruits. It seems like I can only leave the inner part of the heavenly Tao first, consume the Tao fruits and enter secluded cultivation before breaking through the bottleneck of the mid-Dujin realm. Ning Fan shook his head slightly and pointed his finger forward. Immediately, a pitch-black crack appeared in the air. It was the path to leave the inner part of the heavenly Tao. Just as he was about to leave, an old man with purple scales all over his body suddenly flew out from the first true illusion river. He smiled and stopped Ning Fan from leaving. Little friend, you don't have to leave in such a hurry. I find you very pleasing to the eye and I want to give you a gift. I wonder if you dare to accept it. Who are you? Ning Fan was not in a hurry to ask what the gift was. The old man was slightly surprised. Then, he smiled and said with a profound meaning. This old man is the river demon of the true illusion river. I was given the order of immortal Emperor Zi-Do to guard the 4 true illusion rivers of the illusionary world. True mirage rivers river demon. Illusionary world. Ning Fan's eyes flickered but he did not ask any further. Little friend, don't you want to know what this old man gave you as a present? The river demon asked with a smile. Junior is more curious about the illusory world that Senior mentioned. What does Senior mean? Ning Fan replied with an expressionless face. He had always maintained a certain degree of wariness towards strangers. This was his habit. With his eyesight, he could naturally tell that Elder He Yao was an expert on par with a shedding void middle stage expert. Now that he had succeeded in crossing True Realm and cultivated the second Yin Yang, War Yin Yang, his war god art would naturally break through to the 4th transformation. At this moment, even if he were to fight Elder He Yao head-on, he might not necessarily lose, so he was not afraid of Elder He Yao plotting against him. I can't tell you what the illusory world is. You need to figure it out yourself. Since you can make the true illusory river flow in reverse several times, I believe that one day, you will understand the meaning of these 3 words. Of course, Elder He Yao could see the wariness in Ning Fan's eyes. However, he did not mind it at all. With a wave of his palm, he took out a purple golden pearl from the true illusory river. That pearl was the crystallization of Elder He Yao's willpower that solidified the river water. He had been guarding the true illusory river for countless years, but he only managed to condense this one pearl in the end. Little friend, you seem to have quite a number of Tao fruits with you. If I use the willpower in this pearl to help you refine the Tao fruits, I believe that your speed of refining the Tao fruits will increase by more than 1,000 times. If you trust me, you can accept my kind offer and borrow the willpower of this pearl to speed up the process of refining the Tao fruits, cross the second river and break through to the mid-true realm. Of course, if you don't trust me, you can leave. I won't stop you. Elder He Yao looked at Ning Fan with a smile, waiting for his reply quietly. Ning Fan's expression became more and more solemn as he stared at the willpower pearl. With his cultivation base, he had spent at least hundreds of millions of years of hard work to solidify and crystallize his illusory willpower. This willpower pearl contained a huge amount of willpower. Not only was it enough for Ning Fan to speed up the process of refining all the Tao fruits in his possession, but it could also slightly refine some of the dark time fruits. Tao fruits were fine, but dark time fruits were extremely difficult to refine. Ning Fan's speed of absorbing the dark time fruits was too slow. If he has the help of this willpower pearl, he might be able to use this opportunity to refine 1 or 2 dark time fruits. There weren't many opportunities to use the willpower pearl to speed up the refinement process. Senior, are you really willing to use the power of this pearl to help me refine the Tao fruits? Hee hee. Of course, I'm willing to give you this pearl. It just depends on whether you dare to accept my kind offer or not. Even though using this willpower pearl to refine heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures is extremely fast, the pressure of the willpower is also extremely heavy. Do you dare to use this pearl? Why not? Ning Fan sat cross-legged in front of Elder He and took out a few life immortal realm Tao fruits from his storage pouch. Once Elder He activated the willpower of the pearl, he would begin to refine the Tao fruits. Ning Fan was not afraid that Elder He would harm him. With his various means, he was not afraid of Elder He at all if he wanted to protect himself. Moreover, from the beginning to the end, he did not sense any trace of hostility from Elder He. Since Elder He had taken the initiative to express his goodwill, he would also seize the opportunity. Are you ready? Elder He's expression gradually turned serious and asked with a solemn look. Chapter 875. Are you ready? He Yao gradually revealed a serious expression and asked with a dignified look. Ning Fan nodded his head. His eyes turned solemn. At this moment, his aura force was completely restrained. A will appeared in his eyes. He was prepared to fight against the will of the pearl. That will was very strong, close to obsession. A hint of admiration appeared in the old man's eyes as he waved his hand to summon the willpower pearl and formed a hand seal. That was the willpower pearl that he had spent hundreds of millions of years to condense. However, he gave it to Ning Fan without any hesitation because he found Ning Fan extremely pleasing to the eye. The jewel spun in midair, and when it reached the 10th round, it suddenly erupted like a volcano, bursting forth with willpower that shook the heavens and the earth. The entire interior of the heavenly Tao trembled violently because of that powerful will. Under the control of the old man, that will heavily pressed down on Ning Fan's body. All of a sudden, Ning Fan felt as if he was being crushed by countless mountains, nearly suffocating him. Fortunately, this will did not have any malicious intent. It only had good intentions. It did not make Ning Fan's blood flow sluggish. Instead, it increased the speed of his blood flow by more than 1,000 times. Ning Fan's skin turned red and began to emit steam. His body was under a heavy load but his eyes were still as clear as water. It was only at this moment that Ning Fan was convinced that the old river demon really had a trace of goodwill towards him. Thus, the wariness in his eyes when he looked at the old river demon was slightly reduced. Ning Fan opened his mouth and directly swallowed the few life immortal Tao fruits on his knees into his stomach to refine them. Then, he took out the other Tao fruits and refined them. He took a lot of life immortal fruits from the godly void pavilion, and after leaving a lot for the little demon girl, he still had close to 700. Even with the help of the yin-yang locket, it would still take him 1 to 2 years to fully absorb 700 life immortal Tao fruits. Now, under the enhancement of the will of the pearl, the speed of his blood flow had increased by 1,000 times. In just a day, he had refined all of the life immortal Tao fruits. Unfortunately, perhaps it was because he had consumed too many life immortal Tao fruits, the longer he consumed them, the weaker the medicinal effect of the life immortal Tao fruits became. When he swallowed the last life immortal Tao fruit, the medicinal effect was only 1/10 of the original. In the 4 heavens, there were very few cultivators like Ning Fan, who ate the life immortal Tao fruit until its medicinal effect was almost gone. Even though Ning Fan was a 3 orifices ancient god realm expert and had 8 times the refinement efficiency compared to ordinary people, his magic power only increased by 30% after devouring all of the life immortal Tao fruits. Ning Fan had given the little demoness 10 truth purification fruits, so he still had 48 of them left. As for the void-shedding Tao fruits, Ning Fan had given the little demoness 2 and 1 to Kei Shensi. Thus, he still had 9 of them. Next, Ning Fan spent another 2 days consuming all of the truth-crossing Tao fruits and shedding space Tao fruits. Only then did he slightly touch the bottleneck of the mid-truth-crossing realm. If the Dao fruits he swallowed this time were to be converted into Dao crystals, then the price would definitely be over 1 trillion. Even the cultivators of the ancient times couldn't take it lightly. A Dao fruit that was worth 1 trillion Dao crystals only allowed him to touch the bottleneck of the mid-true crossing realm. This medicinal effect was really unworthy of its price. Ning Fan did not dare to compliment it. There were very few cultivators in the Duzhen realm who could devour life-immortal Dao fruits like Ning Fan. Naturally, there weren't many powers that possessed the ability to solely utilize Dao fruits and medicinal pills to nurture true immortal realm experts. That was simply a waste of resources. To true immortals, Dao fruits and medicinal pills were mainly used to break through small bottlenecks. Improving their cultivation base was secondary. The main way for true immortals to improve their cultivation base was not to consume external objects but to meditate and absorb the Dao power and spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Then, they would meditate and comprehend the Dao of heaven and earth to improve their Dao comprehension. The process would certainly require thousands, tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years of arduous cultivation. It was very time-consuming. Therefore, there might be cultivators with bone ages of hundreds of thousands of years among the Duzhen realm cultivators. However, there were rarely any cultivators with bone ages below 1,000,000 years among the void-shedding space cultivators. The medicinal effect of the Dao fruit is a little weak for a true immortal, Ning Fan sighed softly. Then, he raised his head and looked at Old He and the willpower pearl. For 3 consecutive days, Old He had been controlling the willpower pearl to help Ning Fan refine the heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures. Now, he was already showing signs of fatigue. Obviously, helping Ning Fan had consumed a lot of his energy. The size of the willpower pearl was only 3/4 of its original size. It had already used up 1/4 of its power. How is it? You have already refined so many Dao fruits. How confident are you in breaking through the bottleneck of the mid-true crossing realm? Old He laughed and asked. Less than 50%. It's a little low, 50% is still low. As expected of a cultivator who could build a true bridge. You really have the guts to say that. Do you still have more Dao fruits? If there are more, I will continue to help you refine them. I might as well use up all the power of this pearl. After all, this pearl was refined by me when I was guarding the river out of boredom. It's not very useful to me but it will be very useful to you. Old He said straightforwardly. I have already used up all the Dao fruits I have. However, I still have other things that are much stronger than the previous Dao fruits. I just want to borrow the willpower of this pearl to refine them. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan formed a special hand seal. A dark light flashed in his dantian and a dark time fruit flew out. Hiss! It's actually the dark time fruit that only belongs to the dark primordial sect. This item is extremely rare in the illusionary world. I can't believe you actually have one. Old He's eyes immediately widened. When he looked at Ning Fan again, his expression turned serious. Dark primordial sect. Ning Fan was slightly surprised. Obviously, it was his first time hearing this name. Dark Primordial Sect is an immortal sect in the ancient immortal domain. It's not strange that you don't know about this sect. I didn't expect you to have a dark time fruit. It's not easy to refine it. The power of this willpower pearl of mine can only last for 10 days at most. I wonder if 10 days is enough for you to refine this dark time fruit. Let's give it a try first. Old He waved his hand. The willpower of the pearl increased in intensity and pressed down on Ning Fan. Ning Fan naturally would not waste the pressure of the willpower. Without saying anything, he immediately swallowed the dark time fruit back into his dantian and began to refine it. The process of refining the dark time fruit was obviously as difficult as what Old He had expected. Others would need at least 10,000 years to refine a dark time fruit. Although Ning Fan had extraordinary talent and the help of the willpower pearl, he only managed to refine 1/10 of the dark time fruit after 10 days. After 10 days, the power of the willpower pearl was exhausted. It turned into specks of light and dissipated. I initially thought that I could at least refine 1 or 2 dark time fruits this time. It seems like my expectation is a little too high. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. To an ordinary cultivator, a dark time fruit could increase their cultivation base by 400,000 years. To a 3 apertures ancient god like Ning Fan, a dark time fruit could increase his cultivation base by 3,200,000 years. 1/10 of the dark time fruit could also increase his cultivation base by 320,000 years. At this moment, Ning Fan had full confidence to break through the bottleneck of the mid-true crossing realm and cross the second bridge. He slowly rose to his feet and cupped his fists towards Old He to express his gratitude. Thank you. I will definitely repay Senior's help today in the future. Of course, he was thanking Old He for helping him refine the Dao fruit and dark time fruit. Ha! This old man doesn't care about your repayment. However, if one day, you can see through the truth of the illusory world, this old man might really have a small matter that I need your help with. If that day really comes, little friend, please don't reject my request. He Yao said half-jokingly. Ning Fan did not understand what Old He meant by seeing through the truth of the illusory world. However, he remembered what Old He said. If he really sees through the truth of the illusory world one day, he would naturally come and look for Old He. He would listen to Old He's request and try his best to help him. Alright. Quickly go to the True Crossing Bridge and break through to the Mid-True Crossing Realm in one go. This time, you have been staying inside the Heavenly Dao for quite a long time. I think you will leave this place soon. Don't waste your time crossing the bridge. Old He laughed heartily. After giving Ning Fan a deep look, his body flashed and he flew into the first true illusion river again. Ning Fan glanced at the direction of the first river and withdrew his gaze. Then, he turned around and walked towards the second river. With a single step, he stepped onto the second bridge. At the moment he took the first step, there was still an inexhaustible will of the river that pressed down heavily on him. The will of the water of the second true illusion river was a few times stronger than that of the first true illusion river. However, the current Ning Fan's strength was also a few times stronger than before. Therefore, even though it was difficult for him to walk on the second bridge, he still walked forward slowly and steadily. Every time he took a step forward, Ning Fan's cultivation base would increase slightly. The moment he stepped onto the other shore, Ning Fan's cultivation base naturally broke through to the mid-true crossing realm. After attaining the mid-true crossing realm, the total amount of his magic power was already comparable to a late true crossing realm cultivator. In fact, it was more than a few times stronger than an ordinary late true crossing realm cultivator. Ning Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and raised his head to look at the surrounding heaven and earth. He saw that there were already spatial turbulences inside the heavenly Dao. Obviously, it was going to expel him from this place. It's time to go. Ning Fan cupped his fists at the first river. Then, he raised his hand and tore open a pitch-black passage in front of him. He stepped into it and left. Half a month had passed since Ning Fan entered the true crossing realm inside the heavenly Dao. During this half a month, Lu Yen and Immortal Loli stayed in the Barbarian Valley, waiting for Ning Fan's return. Every day when Immortal Loli woke up, she would lose her memories of Lu Yen, which gave Lu Yen a headache. Fortunately, Ning Fan had already left behind a jade slip. In the jade slip, he recorded the memories of his life with Lu Yen and Immortal Loli. Every day, Lu Yen would let the Immortal Loli see these images once, to let the Immortal Loli understand that she was not an enemy. Lu Yen, why isn't father back yet? Xian Xian misses him. Immortal Loli jumped onto a tree like a monkey. She swayed her legs, chewed on a lightning pill and stared blankly at the sky. During the days when Ning Fan was not around, she would be in a daze every day and miss him. It's almost time. No matter if Senior succeeds in crossing the true crossing realm or not, he should be back after half a month. Lu Yen stayed under the tree, watching over Immortal Loli. She was afraid that Immortal Loli would slip out of the Barbarian Valley and meet with danger when Ning Fan was not around. Although she already knew that immortal Loli's strength was comparable to a mid-shedding void old monster and she would not encounter too much danger in the wild wilderness, however, after living together for tens of years, she and Ning Fan and immortal Loli now had a trace of familial bond between them. That feeling was very intoxicating and made Lu Yen feel a little reluctant to part with them. However, she also understood that this kind of familial bond was fake. There was no familial bond between her, Ning Fan and immortal Loli. Rumbled at a muffled thunder suddenly exploded in the clear sky. Then, a few demon cultivators with ancient demon sacrificial tools arrived at the Barbarian Valley. There were a total of 3 demon cultivators. 2 of them were early True Crossing Realm demon cultivators of the True Dragon clan while the other one was a mid-shedding void dragon demon. If Ning Fan was here, he would certainly recognize that this mid-shedding void dragon demon was one of the 4 poisonous dragon guards that he failed to kill that day. Commander Feng, this is the place indicated by the map. Our mission is to unseal the ancient formation here. There are people in this valley. The 2 early True Crossing Realm dragon demons were reporting something to the poisonous dragon guard. Suddenly, their expressions changed and they became silent. The poisonous dragon guard who was addressed as Commander Feng glanced at the Barbarian Valley below and said disapprovingly. It's just 2 human cultivators with low cultivation bases. One of them is just a void fragmentation realm expert while the other one hasn't reached the harmonious spirit realm. There's nothing to be surprised about. The 2 of you, go down and kill them. We are following the old ancestors' secret order. No one is allowed to see what we are doing. Understood. The eyes of the 2 True Crossing Realm experts immediately flashed with cold light. Their bodies flashed and they rushed down. Their killing intent was directly locked on Lu Yen and immortal Loli. Not good. Xian, run. Lu Yan's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. She leaped onto the tree and grabbed immortal Loli's hand. She wanted to break a jade slip that Ning Fan gave her to escape. Even though her cultivation base was low and she could not see through the 3 dragon demons' exact cultivation bases, she could vaguely feel how terrifying they were. Even though she knew that immortal Loli was strong, she did not know whether she was stronger or weaker compared to the 3 dragon demons. When she saw that they had already revealed their killing intent, she naturally wanted to escape with immortal Loli. It was the life-saving jade slip that Ning Fan gave to Lu Yen before he left. It contained a trace of power that could pierce through the ground. As soon as she broke it, a ray of golden light shone from the jade slip. It wrapped around Lu Yen and immortal Loli and disappeared in the vast sky. So fast. The eyes of the 2 True Crossing Realm dragon demons were filled with shock. They frantically spread their spirit sense. However, the 2 ladies were already nowhere to be seen. Oh. I didn't expect a mere void fragmentation realm junior to have such a powerful escape technique jade slip. Could it be that she is the descendant of an immortal venerable of the human race? Hee. In that case, we have to kill her even more. It will be a great merit when we report this to our old ancestor. Commander Feng sneered and pointed his finger at the sky. Immediately, the shadow of a purple dragon appeared in the sky. Come up. This old man will bring the 2 of you to make a contribution. Commander Feng leaped onto the head of the purple dragon and carried the 2 True Crossing Realm dragon demons. He identified a direction and was about to chase after them. Suddenly, Commander Feng's expression changed. He did not know why the 2 ladies had returned to where they came from. The reason why they returned was because of immortal Loli. Lu Yen, why are we running away? Father won't be able to find us when he comes back. A few breaths ago, immortal Loli pouted and complained while being held by Lu Yen in the golden rainbow. She was not afraid of the 3 dragon demons. She wanted to stay in the Barbarian Valley and wait for her father to return home. Those 3 demon cultivators are very powerful. Senior had said that if we encounter any powerful cultivators, we can just break the jade slip and run away. Senior has left quite a lot of jade slips. After we get further away, I will activate the concealment jade slip and hide my body. It won't be difficult for us to escape from their pursuit. Lu Yan answered with a solemn expression. No. I won't run away. I want to go back and find my father. Immortal Loli waved her fist and directly broke a hole in the golden light. Then, she stepped on the silver lightning and returned to the Barbarian Valley. Lu Yan's expression changed. She no longer had the time to activate the golden light to escape. She gritted her teeth and activated the golden light to return to where they came from, chasing after Immortal Loli. Thus, the two ladies returned to the Barbarian Valley again. Immortal Loli wanted to stay here and wait for Ning Fan while Lu Yan wanted to take Immortal Loli away. Interesting. Interesting. Your golden light technique is quite impressive. I was worried that the two of you would escape from my sensing range. I didn't expect that the two of you would actually come back to seek death. This time, I won't give the two of you a chance to escape. Commander Feng looked at Immortal Loli and Lu Yan who were flying towards him and sneered. He suddenly raised his hand, pointed at the sky and said in a deep voice. Heavenly Demon Technique, Sky Mirror. As Commander Feng pointed his finger, the sky within 10,000 li of the Barbarian Valley seemed to have frozen and was completely sealed by the barrier. Lu Yan and Immortal Loli's traveling light seemed to have hit an invisible wall. With a bang, they were pushed back and could no longer move forward. Combine. Without giving the two ladies more time to react, Commander Feng put his palms together and activated his divine ability. Countless soil and rocks in the Barbarian Valley suddenly flew up to the sky and condensed into two giant palms made of soil and rocks. The giant palms were originally on both sides of the two ladies. As Commander Feng activated his divine ability, the palms immediately slapped towards the two ladies from two different directions. With Commander Feng's mid-shedding Void Realm cultivation base, both of his palms were enough to kill any cultivator in the Dujin realm. From Commander Feng's point of view, this technique was definitely enough to easily kill the two women. It would be as easy as blowing off dust. However, what he did not expect was that the moment the two giant palms came together, Immortal Loli, who he did not pay any attention to, suddenly raised her fist and punched towards the left and right respectively, shattering the two giant palms at the same time. Her expression was very relaxed. Lu Yan, don't be afraid. This smelly old man is no match for me. However, it seems like it will be very difficult for me to kill him now. I want to stay here and wait for Daddy to come home. Although I can't defeat them, Daddy said that if I am bullied, I must fight back. Immortal Loli punched again and the barrier of 10,000 li immediately shattered like a mirror. She tiptoed again and flew towards Commander Feng and the others under Lu Yan's astonished gaze. She raised her hand and a huge silver lightning diagram immediately appeared in the sky. Suddenly, a cold air surged out from the lightning diagram. The cold lightning power condensed into an ancient chariot that was half made of ice and the other half made of lightning power. The moment the chariot appeared, Commander Feng suddenly revealed a look of disbelief and his facial expression changed. He recognized the lightning diagram and the lightning chariot. He also sensed the powerful aura of Immortal Loli. This lady has concealed her cultivation base. She is actually a mid-shedding Void Realm cultivator. What I didn't expect was that she is actually a cultivator from the extreme Eastern Heaven Thunder Palace. What she is using is obviously the forbidden technique of the Extreme Thunder Palace. Dark Thunder Chariot. In the next moment, millions of cold thunder runes emerged from the chariot. At this moment, the spirit cannon on the chariot released an earth-shattering thunder cannon. A sense of imminent death immediately surged into the hearts of Commander Feng and the other two Dujin realm cultivators. Chapter 876. It was unstoppable and unstoppable. A dark thunder cannon shot through the sky, and countless silver lightning bolts condensed into snowflakes and shadows. Wherever the lightning swept past, the entire Barbarian Valley turned into a snow valley. Cold air seeped into the ground and froze the ground 3 feet deep. Commander Feng and the others looked pale. Even with Commander Feng's mid-shedding void cultivation base, he would most likely die if he was hit by the dark thunder. The two true dragon demons were in despair while Commander Feng showed a vicious expression. At the moment of certain death, Commander Feng did not dare to hold anything back. Without saying anything further, he took out a jade strip with dragon scales on it. His face revealed a pained expression, but he still firmly crushed the jade strip and coldly cried out. Dragon Worship Technique, 4 Directions Dragon Bone. This was a life-saving item given to him by old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. As soon as he crushed the jade slip, a million zhang long bone dragon head appeared in front of the Dark Thunder Cannon. The dragon head opened its mouth and swallowed the Dark Thunder Cannon. The dark mouth could swallow most shedding void magical attacks. It was a special defensive divine ability of the true Dragon Clan's Bone Dragon Clan. It blocked it. Commander Feng heaved a sigh of relief, but his expression changed drastically in the next moment. The bone dragon head that swallowed the Dark Thunder Cannon suddenly showed a painful expression. Lightning flashed on the dragon head and the next moment, the entire dragon head was frozen into an ice sculpture. As the lightning flashed on the ice sculpture, the dragon head immediately shattered into countless ice shards and disappeared. The shattered lightning power continued to sweep towards Commander Feng and the others. Even though Commander Feng displayed the full strength of mid-shedding void, he was still sent flying by the shattered lightning power and vomited blood. The 2 crossing true dragon demons behind him were directly killed by the scattered lightning power. Hiss! What level is the Dark Thunder Chariot that this girl summoned? The power of the lightning cannon is so strong that even the defensive technique given by old ancestor can't defend against it completely. 8th level, at least 8th level. If it wasn't an 8th level chariot, how could it have such terrifying power? Commander Feng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and his expression changed drastically. He felt a trace of fear towards the ordinary-looking immortal lowly. The Dark Thunder War Chariot was one of the forbidden arts of the extreme Eastern Sky Thunder Palace. The Dark Thunder War Chariot summoned had a total of 10 grades. Since the defensive jade strip was unable to defend against it, it was at least a grade 8 war chariot. There were less than 100 grade 8 war chariots in the entire Extreme Thunder Palace. Few void-shedding realm cultivators could defend against a full-powered attack. The silver-haired little Lolita in front of him had an 8th grade war chariot, so her status in the Supreme Thunder Palace was naturally not low. With Commander Feng's shedding void middle stage cultivation, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to block the attack of a Class 8 war chariot. If they continued to fight, they would most likely die. So painful. Immortal Loli coughed a few times. Her face was filled with pain, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. However, she wiped it off casually. As her lightning physique continued to evolve, the immortal Loli lost more and more of her memories, but her control over her lightning power continued to increase. In the past, she couldn't use the Dark Thunder Chariot, but now she could. However, as she was at the critical stage of the evolution of her lightning physique, using this forbidden technique would put a huge burden on her body, which could easily cause a backlash. That trace of blood was the best proof that she had suffered from the backlash of the forbidden technique. The pain of the backlash made her petite body feel as if it was being torn apart. Xian, are you alright? Lu Yan's beautiful eyes were filled with shock and worry. She was shocked by the terrifying power of the Dark Thunder Chariot and worried about the backlash that immortal Loli had suffered. Lu Yan, don't worry. I'm fine. Father said that we must fight back when we are bullied. These evil dragons want to kill us, so we have to fight back. We have to slay them. Humph. Even though I can't defeat these evil dragons, as long as I summon my small chariot, I can still kill them. I'm very powerful. I won't leave. I won't run away. I want to wait here for Father to come back. If the evil dragons hit me, I will kill them. Immortal Loli's clear eyes were filled with stubbornness. The more she lost her memories, the more she relied on Ning Fan. Even though the backlash of the forbidden technique was great, she was not afraid of it. She wanted to eliminate the enemies and wait for Ning Fan's return in this barbarian valley. Unseal, 9th grade lightning chariot. Immortal Loli's expression became more painful. She gritted her teeth and endured the pain. She performed a small hand seal and lightning flashed wildly on the chariot. The might of the lightning increased and the number of talisman marks increased. Commander Feng's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. He did not expect that Immortal Loli's Dark Thunder Chariot was not an 8th grade chariot but a 9th grade one. If a 9th grade chariot uses its full power, most of the Thought Fragmentation Realm cultivators would be killed in a single strike. Only those late Thought Fragmentation Realm and peak Thought Fragmentation Realm cultivators could withstand the destructive power of the lightning cannon of the chariot. Unfortunately, Commander Feng was not a late Thought Fragmentation Realm cultivator nor a peak Thought Fragmentation Realm cultivator. He was just a mid-shedding void cultivator. The lightning cannon of the 9th grade chariot was powerful enough to pierce through heaven and earth. There was no place for him to hide in this world. I'll die. I'll die. I'll die. Do I have no choice but to fight? Commander Feng's soul trembled violently. He had almost lost all hope. In desperation, Commander Feng pointed a finger at the center of his brows. Immediately, an illusory arrow shadow floated there. However, at this moment, a pitch-black crack was torn open between heaven and earth. A white-robed young man walked out from it. He did not seem to have done anything, but the arrow shadow on Commander Feng's glabella was forced back into his glabella. The white-robed young man glanced at Commander Feng with a solemn expression. That arrow shadow gave him a strong sense of danger. He slowly walked towards Immortal Loli and Lu Yen. Looking at the devastated barbaric bones, his eyes revealed a rare hint of heartache. He wiped the trace of blood from the corner of Immortal Loli's mouth. Xian, you can stop now. You will suffer an irreversible backlash if you use the 9th grade chariot forcefully. Keep the chariot. Yes, Senior. Senior, you're back. Lu Yan's beautiful eyes flashed with joy when she saw the white-robed young man return. Father. You've disappeared for half a month. Xian missed you so much. Immortal Loli leaped into the white-robed young man's arms like a monkey. Her small face kept rubbing against his face while smiling sweetly. How could she still care about using the Dark Thunder Chariot to kill Commander Feng? That white-robed young man was none other than Ning Fan, who had just returned from Duzhen. Ning Fan scanned the bodies of the two ladies with his spirit sense. When he saw that Lu Yen was unscathed, he felt slightly relieved. However, when he saw that Immortal Loli's body was already injured by the backlash, his expression immediately darkened. When he looked at Commander Feng again, his eyes were filled with cold light. Xian has always been the most obedient to me. I've told her before that she is not allowed to display her abilities and attack anyone unless she encounters an enemy. If it wasn't because this demon wanted to kill her, she wouldn't have risked the backlash by using the forbidden technique of the Extreme Lightning Palace. There's still the residual chi of the demonic technique in the air. Did this demon try to kill Xian and Lu Yen just now? The arrow shadow on this demon's glabella is very dangerous. If I came back a little later, Xian would have suffered a small loss even if she has the Dark Thunder Chariot of the Extreme Lightning Palace. Speaking of which, this demon looks a little familiar. Isn't he the poisonous dragon guard who chased after me in the past? Ning Fan's eyes were as cold as ice that would not melt for 3 winters. It made Commander Feng's heart tremble for no reason. He had heard Immortal Loli addressing Ning Fan as father. In his mind, Immortal Loli was already very abnormal. She could even summon a 9th grade lightning chariot. Her father was probably even more abnormal. Therefore, he was somewhat afraid of Ning Fan unknowingly. However, in the blink of an eye, Commander Feng's expression relaxed and revealed a look of disbelief. Under Ning Fan's order, Immortal Loli kept her chariot obediently, acting as if she was completely obedient to Ning Fan. As for Ning Fan, who was addressed as father by Immortal Loli, because he had just broken through to the next realm, his body was still emitting the mid-Duzhen chi. He was actually just a junior of the Duzhen realm. Hee. That scared me. It turns out that this girl's father is just a junior of the Duzhen realm. However, I didn't expect that girl to keep her chariot after summoning the 9th grade lightning chariot. If she activates the lightning cannon of the chariot, killing me would be as easy as flipping her palm. Among the 3 of them, the silver-haired girl is the one who shouldn't be trifled with. Although I don't know why she kept her chariot, it's a good opportunity for me to escape from this place. I received the secret order from the old ancestor to come to this barbarian valley to unlock the ancient formation. However, my whereabouts were seen by these 3 people. If I had the confidence, I would certainly kill these 3 people. Unfortunately, the lightning chariot of that silver-haired girl is too terrifying. Forget it. I'll return to the north first and inform the old ancestor about this matter. He will send someone else to kill these 3 people. Commander Feng glared at Ning Fan and the others. Suddenly, 9 layers of purple gale swirled around his body and he fled towards the north. Before he fled, he flicked his finger and casted the demonic technique of drawing the sky into a mirror again. He set up a barrier around the entire barbarian valley, trying to trap Ning Fan and the others. A barrier, huh? Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. In his eyes, the powerful barrier that imprisoned the barbarian valley immediately exposed all the void formation cores. Father! That evil dragon wanted to kill Xianxian and Lu Yan just now. Quickly go and catch it to help Xianxian vent her anger. Immortal Loli hugged Ning Fan's neck and said coquettishly. In her chaotic memories, Ning Fan was her father who was omnipotent. It was as easy as flipping his palm for him to kill a void-shedding evil dragon. Alright. You guys stay in the barbarian valley obediently and wait for me. I'm going to chase after that evil dragon. Ning Fan put Immortal Loli down and suddenly raised his hand. He activated the secret word of force to its maximum. His aura force spread out like a mountain and he pressed his 5 fingers against heaven and earth. Even though this barrier was set up by a mid-void shedding old monster, it was as vulnerable as a clay chicken or a pottery dog to Ning Fan, who had broken through to the mid-true crossing realm and mastered the secret word of force. Rumble.as Ning Fan pressed his hand, the barrier that imprisoned 10,000 li immediately broke into pieces like glass and dissipated, producing continuous rumbling sounds. Ning Fan lifted his feet and stepped on the sky. The 3 blood in his body boiled and his body immediately turned into a golden rainbow, chasing after Commander Feng. Now that he had broken through to the mid-true crossing realm, his cultivation base had improved tremendously. Even if he did not summon his ghost face, he could still slightly control the golden rainbow. In the past, he did not have the confidence to fight a mid-void shedding old monster. Today, however, he had the confidence to do so. Ning Fan was not a heartless person in the first place. He had been Lu Yan and Immortal Loli's family for 50 years. Even though they did not have any romantic feelings, there was a kind of warmth between them that was as clear as tea and as mellow as wine. The poisonous dragon guards were Ning Fan's enemies in the first place. Now that Commander Feng had the intention to attack the 2 ladies, Ning Fan would certainly not let him go. You can't escape. Commander Feng, who was fleeing in the form of a demonic wind, suddenly heard Ning Fan's voice. His expression immediately changed. Before he could react, a ray of golden light flashed in front of him. The figure of a young man in white robes appeared out of nowhere. It was Ning Fan. As soon as Ning Fan appeared, he immediately threw a punch at Commander Feng. His essence chi spread out in all directions, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Commander Feng had no choice but to stop his movement light and block the incoming fist light. Even though he was not injured, his palm felt numb from the impact of the fist light. His face darkened. What a terrifying speed! This young man's cultivation base is just at the mid-true crossing realm, but he actually managed to catch up to me easily with that strange movement light. Besides, he is clearly just at the mid-true crossing realm, but the force of his fist is so terrifying. Even among the late true crossing realm experts, there might not be many who can withstand a single punch from him. However, it's a pity that he actually chased after me alone. He did not bring that silver-haired girl with him. Hee hee. If he's alone, I'm not afraid. Die. Commander Feng waved his hand and summoned a bone fragment of a demon dragon. As soon as the bone fragment came into contact with sunlight, it immediately turned into a bone dragon with 2 wings and swooped towards Ning Fan. An illusion technique, Huh. Ning Fan neither dodged nor evaded the attack. Instead, he directly used an illusion technique to reflect the attack. With his current cultivation base, it was not difficult for him to reflect the illusion technique of a mid-void shedding realm old monster. However, the bone dragon with 2 wings that was swooping towards Ning Fan suddenly stopped moving. At the next moment, its body shattered into pieces and disappeared. Behind Commander Feng, hundreds of bone dragons with 2 wings suddenly appeared. All of them opened their mouths at the same time and breathed out scorching dragon breath at Commander Feng. What? Why did my illusion bone dragons devour me instead? Commander Feng's expression changed greatly. Without saying a word, he directly leaped backwards. At the same time, he formed hand seals to dispel the illusion technique. Unfortunately, his movements were still a little too slow and he was still burned by the dragon breath. Those injuries were not serious, but they made Commander Feng's expression turn extremely ugly. At first, he thought that as a dignified mid-void shedding realm old monster, he could easily eliminate the junior Duzhen in front of him with just a simple illusion technique. Unexpectedly, the illusion technique that he was so proud of was actually easily reflected by that junior Duzhen. Who are you? Tell me your name. Since you're able to reflect my illusion technique, it's impossible for you to be a nobody in the desolate world. Commander Feng seemed to be asking Ning Fan a question, but his hands were hidden in his long sleeves and he was secretly forming hand seals. Ning Fan was not that bored to the point of reporting his name. He had already seen through Commander Feng's trick. He waved his hand and wiped it across his face, directly summoning Ghost Face. His black hair turned silver. Do you really not know who I am? Bang! Ning Fan casually threw a punch at the sky on the right side of his body. That part of the sky immediately cracked and thousands of illusory young dragons fell from it. When he pressed his 5 fingers, those young dragons immediately shrieked miserably and turned into illusory light before disappearing. These young dragons were all illusionary transformations. As for void shedding realm illusion techniques, they were useless against Ning Fan now. Silver hair with ghost face. So it's you. As soon as Commander Feng saw Ning Fan summon Ghost Face, his eyes were filled with shock. Then, his eyes flashed with monstrous killing intent. The silver-haired cultivator with the ghost face was the person whom old ancestor Poisonous Dragon had placed a bounty on his head. He was the person who single-handedly annihilated 68 poisonous dragon guards, destroyed the 7-colored arrow spirit and seized the true dragon ancestral bow. After the initial shock, Commander Feng revealed a disdainful smile. I didn't expect that the person whom old ancestor regards as a great threat is actually just a junior at the mid-Duzhen realm. As long as I can kill you, it's worth it even if I have to pay a price. You seem to have a strong resistance against illusion techniques. Alright then, I'll use some abilities other than illusion techniques to deal with you. Ancient demon sacrificial tools, appear. Commander Feng raised his hand and summoned hundreds of rays of golden light. Every single one of them was an ancient demon sacrificial tool. Countless sacrificial tools floated in the air and immediately linked together to form an ancient killing formation. Ning Fan took a glance at the killing formation and immediately recognized it. It vaguely resembled the peerless ferocious formation that the boorish ancestor used to sacrifice the blood of the desolate lands, the immemorial dust-defying formation. However, the power of this formation was naturally far inferior to the immemorial dust-defying formation. The latter was enough to sacrifice the entire desolate lands, while this formation could only imprison void realm cultivators at most. In the third illusion of the Duzhen illusion, Ning Fan had been trapped in the immemorial dust-defying formation for 1 million years. He had also studied the formation for 1 million years. He could not see through the real immemorial dust-defying formation. However, this weak formation that imitated the immemorial dust-defying formation was nothing to him. This formation is useless against me. Rain Yin Yang, unseal. Battle Yin Yang, unseal. After unsealing 2 great Yin Yang, Ning Fan's aura force immediately approached the early void realm. He lifted his foot and stepped on the weakest part of the formation diagram with an aura force that could flatten mountains and rivers. With just a single step, hundreds of ancient demon sacrificial tools were shattered into dust. As for the ferocious formation that Commander Feng laid down, it was already destroyed by Ning Fan's foot before it could display its power. How is this possible? The dust-punishing formation that was passed down by the old ancestor was actually destroyed by this kid with just a single step. What kind of secret technique did he use? He is clearly just a mid-Dujin cultivator, but his cultivation base suddenly rose to a level that is close to the void realm. At this moment, Commander Feng actually sensed a hint of danger from Ning Fan. If he still looked down on Ning Fan before this, he absolutely did not dare to look down on Ning Fan anymore at this moment. Sure enough, I still have to use the arrow spirit that was given by the old ancestor to kill this kid. No, that arrow spirit is the key to unsealing the ancient formation. If I use it, the old ancestor will certainly blame me. Speaking of which, I thought that I would be killed by the 9th grade war chariot just now. I had tried to activate the arrow spirit to fight with my life, but it was forced back by this kid with a strange method. How did he do it? Commander Feng's thoughts raced. In the end, he shook his head and gave up on using the arrow spirit. Although Ning Fan also gave him a sense of danger, it was far less terrifying than the 9th grade war chariot. I'll just use that thing to deal with this kid. Commander Feng suddenly made up his mind. He pressed his right hand on his left shoulder and sneered. Then, he directly tore off his left arm, causing blood to splatter across the sky. With the price of losing my arm forever, I beg the ancient demonic dragon to manifest. Bang! Commander Feng pressed his right hand and his left arm immediately shattered into a mist of blood. The mist spread across the sky and formed an ancient blood door. Illusory door, open. The blood door opened along with Commander Feng's shout. Immediately, a demonic dragon that was comparable to an ancient monster flew out from the blood door. The dragon breath that it breathed was enough to burn the heavens. It was so powerful that it could easily kill any true immortal cultivator. Countless volcanoes that had been dormant for many years erupted at this moment to welcome the appearance of the demonic dragon. The desolate wasteland seemed to have turned into a world of fire. Oh, it's half real and half illusory, huh? That's a rare illusion technique. I can't even reflect it. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that the ancient demonic dragon summoned by Commander Feng was an illusion technique. The eruption of the volcanoes was an illusion. Commander Feng destroying his own arm was an illusion. Everything that Ning Fan saw was an illusion. However, the blood door that Commander Feng summoned was real. With Commander Feng's cultivation base, it was naturally impossible for him to truly summon a 10,000 ancient realm demonic dragon. This demonic dragon was fake. It could not kill Ning Fan, nor could it be killed by him. However, even if it was fake, the ancient demonic dragon still had a defense that was comparable to the illusory techniques of the ancient cultivators. Ordinary illusory techniques could not destroy this illusory dragon. Besides, with Ning Fan's cultivation base, he also could not reflect this illusion technique. The demonic dragon was not the key to this technique. The blood door was the key. Ning Fan could sense the breathing of a living being coming from the blood door. It was extremely faint, but it was real. At the moment when the blood door appeared, Ning Fan's sea of consciousness turned blood red bit by bit. What I want to kill isn't the demonic dragon but the blood door. This blood door can't be destroyed with ordinary methods. The only thing that can destroy it is an illusion technique. Just as well, I can use this blood door to test my newly learned illusion technique. No matter how the ancient demonic dragon kept attacking him, Ning Fan did not bother to defend himself at all. He believed that this dragon was an illusion and he would not be harmed at all. His eyes were fixated on the blood door. He took a step forward and activated the Tao elephant that demonized the dark night. As soon as he took a step forward, a trace of extreme darkness immediately appeared in the sky where his feet landed. That darkness eroded the wild desolate fire world bit by bit. Eventually, the wild desolate fire world in front of Commander Feng completely turned into night. Night. It was not just night. It was even darker than night. Commander Feng's vision seemed to have lost all light. His five senses and spirit sense were being deprived by the extreme darkness bit by bit. He began to lose sight of the blood door that he had summoned and the demonic dragon that he had transformed into. The only thing he could see was Ning Fan, who was walking towards him step by step in the darkness. At this moment, Ning Fan, who was dressed in white robes and had silver hair, looked very eye-catching in the darkness. Every time Ning Fan took a step forward, the darkness that was eroding Commander Feng's body would become denser. Every step he took contained the will of darkening heaven and earth. To his horror, Commander Feng realized that he had fallen into Ning Fan's illusion technique. Moreover, with his mid-shedding void realm cultivation base, he could not break this illusion technique. Ning Fan walked towards him step by step, running in the opposite direction of dawn. Wherever he stepped on, it was the dark night. Bang! That was the sound of the blood door shattering. Commander Feng could not see how Ning Fan destroyed the blood door at all. Roar! That was the sound of the ancient demonic dragon's death. It was born from an illusion and also died because of an illusion. Darkness eroded Commander Feng's body. Starting from his feet, his body slowly lost all color and became dark. He fell into the darkness and lost his freedom. Gradually, it was not just his legs but his entire body that was engulfed in darkness. Commander Feng desperately tried to break free from the darkness, but he realized that he could not do it at all. At the moment when the last part of his body sank into the darkness, he finally let out a heart-wrenching scream. He had actually died in the illusion technique of the night. So it's a Dao technique. No wonder it's so powerful. Ah! Commander Feng's voice finally faded away bit by bit in the darkness. Release. Ning Fan wearily formed hand seals with all 10 of his fingers and dispelled the illusion technique of the night. This was a Dao technique that was formed from the grand accomplishment Dao elephant. It was as if heaven and earth had never fallen into darkness. It was the same as before. Commander Feng stood in the sky with his body intact. His eyes, however, were empty. He was drooling and smiling foolishly. As for Ning Fan, his eyes were bleeding black blood under the ghost mask. His face was extremely pale. Obviously, using this illusion technique consumed a lot of his energy. However, his achievements were also shocking. With this illusion technique, Ning Fan had directly erased all of Commander Feng's spirit consciousness, turning him into an idiot. Commander Feng was not a mid-shedding void realm expert. However, Ning Fan was able to erase his spirit consciousness with a single technique. That alone was enough to prove how powerful this technique was. This technique could not kill people. What it could kill was their spirit consciousness. The backlash of this technique was extremely terrifying. Ning Fan's eyes actually went blind for a short period of time because he used this technique. Half of his primordial spirit was also corroded by the darkness. Before this technique is completed, it seems like I shouldn't use it too much. Ning Fan said with a solemn expression. Chapter 877. After a few breaths, Ning Fan's eyes regained their clarity. He kept the ghost mask and wiped away the black blood in his eyes. After that, he swept away the darkness on his primordial spirit and walked towards Commander Feng, who was standing blankly in the sky. A dignified mid-shedding void realm old monster had his spirit consciousness erased by Ning Fan's illusion technique. One had to admit that Commander Feng was defeated miserably. What Commander Feng was most proficient in was illusion techniques. However, Ning Fan was able to counter all of his illusions, causing his strength to be suppressed by 90%. In the end, he even lost because of his illusions. There was still an arrow light hidden in his glabella. It was a divine ability given to him by old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Its power was boundless. Even Ning Fan felt a trace of danger from it. Unfortunately, he hesitated and gave up the chance to use the arrow light. In the end, his spirit consciousness was erased by Ning Fan's dark illusion technique, turning him into an idiot. If this demon uses his trump card, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for me to defeat him. Ning Fan pointed his finger at Commander Feng's glabella. Immediately, an arrow light flew out from the latter's glabella. It was an illusory arrow light that had developed some spirit consciousness. It was enough to kill a late-shedding Void Realm cultivator with a single arrow. The spirit consciousness in the arrow light was erased by Ning Fan. Then, he kept the arrow light in his glabella. If he encounters a late-shedding Void Realm cultivator, he could kill him with a single arrow. Commander Feng did not have time to use his trump card, allowing Ning Fan to take advantage of him. Soul Search. Ning Fan naturally would not show any mercy to Commander Feng. He directly used the Soul Search technique. After searching his soul, he killed Commander Feng and took his bag of holding and corpse blood. There was nothing valuable in the storage pouch. There was only a map jade slip which caught Ning Fan's attention. It was a map of the 42 regions of the wild desolate land. There were more than 40 places marked in red. The Barbarian Valley where Ning Fan was at was marked. From Commander Feng's memory, Ning Fan learned that the reason why Commander Feng came to this Barbarian Valley was because he was ordered by Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon to unseal a remnant ancient formation near the valley. According to Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon, there were more than 10,000 such remnant formations in the wild desolate ancient region. Commander Feng was only responsible for unsealing more than 40 of them. He also only knew the location of more than 40 remnant formations. The demon race first raised the nascent soul defying across the entire wild desolate land. Then, they secretly unsealed the ancient formations. What exactly are they trying to do? Ning Fan's heart was filled with a hint of uneasiness. He had a feeling that the true Dragon Clan's scheme was not as simple as it seemed. He slowly closed his eyes, and his divine sense immediately turned into a fine rain that scattered in all directions. The rain seeped into the land for millions of miles around Barbarian Valley, all the way down to the core of the earth. Over there, Ning Fan saw an extremely well-hidden and incomplete ancient formation. This is the immemorial dust-defying formation. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned solemn. He had been trapped by the immemorial dust-defying formation in the third illusion for many years. How could he not recognize this formation? It wasn't the complete immemorial dust-defying formation, but a 10,000th of the formation diagram that had been broken from the immemorial dust-defying formation. This broken array was perfectly sealed by a powerful demonic spiritual force. The ones who sealed this array were at least 10 great emperors of the demon race who had cultivated spiritual wheels. The concealment effect of demon spiritual power was extremely powerful. Even Ning Fan, who also cultivated demon spiritual power, did not notice that there was such an incomplete formation in this Barbarian Valley after staying for quite a few days. Activating the immemorial dust-defying formation required the sacrifice of the defying infant. Ning Fan's eyes became more and more solemn. He vaguely understood why the true dragon race wanted to raise the rebellious infant. The reason why the demon race raised the rebellious infant is probably to activate the 10,000 ancient formation that was sealed in the ancient wild region. These incomplete formations were formed after the immemorial dust-defying formation was broken. Because of that, they couldn't unleash the full power of the formation. Even if they activate the grand formation, they can't sacrifice the entire ancient wild region. The destructive power of these incomplete formations has already become negligible. The demon race didn't activate this formation to sacrifice the entire ancient wild region. They have another purpose. What exactly is the demon race's scheme? The demon race's scheme made Ning Fan feel a little uneasy. He moved and dived into the ground, trying to destroy the incomplete formation. Unfortunately, Ning Fan was actually unable to destroy the incomplete formation with his current cultivation base. In order to destroy the incomplete formation, he would at least need to use an attack that was close to the Eternal Ancient Realm. Only an Eternal Ancient Realm old monster could do so. Hiss. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth here is really chaotic. A great battle must have taken place here not long ago. Suddenly, the exclamations of a few ladies resounded from the ground. There were a few life immortal realm human cultivators who happened to pass by this place and discovered the chaotic spiritual chi of heaven and earth here. Ning Fan's eyes slightly moved under the ground. These life immortal realm cultivators actually have a trace of eternal ancient chi on them. Could it be that they possess a life-saving divine ability that was given by a human immortal venerable? That day, when I was attacked by old ancestor poisonous dragon's 7 arrows, a human immortal venerable helped me. Even though it didn't help much, it was still a gesture of goodwill. That human immortal venerable's chi is very similar to the chi of these life immortal realm human cultivators. Fine. With my current strength, I won't be able to destroy the incomplete formation. I'll just inform that human immortal venerable about this matter and let him take action to prevent the demon race's scheme. If the demon race's scheme causes a great calamity in the ancient wild region, that immortal venerable who is responsible for guarding the place will most likely be blamed. If he knows that the demon race is plotting against us, he will certainly do his best to deal with it. Since he helped me once, I'll give him some information to help him guard against the demon race's scheme. On the ground, the few life immortal realm cultivators sensed that the spiritual chi in this place was chaotic. Naturally, they didn't dare to stay here for long, fearing that they would be involved in some trouble. However, just as they were about to leave, a heavy pressure that was as heavy as a mountain suddenly pressed down on them from the ground. It made their breathing stagnate and they couldn't move. Their pretty faces turned pale. The one who could suppress us life immortal realm cultivators with just the pressure alone must be old monster Shikong. Not good. We've been targeted by old monster Shikong. What should we do? Damn it. Do we have no choice but to use the life-saving divine ability given by Lord Immortal Venerable? But even if we use it, we might not be able to save our lives. While the few women were in despair, a hoarse and old voice suddenly resounded in their ears. It was so faint that they couldn't sense where the speaker was hiding. Don't be afraid. This old man won't hurt you. I just have some questions that I hope you can answer truthfully. After that, this old man will let you go. What questions do you have, Senior? Why don't you speak your mind? It's our honor to be able to answer your doubts. The few women spoke in unison. Their expressions softened slightly. At this moment, the owner of the voice purposely released a trace of the chi of the human race, making the few women feel slightly relieved. They realized that this senior who was hiding his identity might not be their enemy. Let me ask you. Which immortal venerable of the human race is the one who gave you the life-saving divine ability? Ning Fan purposely made his voice hoarse and asked. In reply to Senior's question, the one who gave us the divine ability is Venerable Miao Yen. We are the maidservants of Venerable Miao Yen. The few women hesitated for a moment before answering. This was not a secret. They would not deliberately hide it from Ning Fan either. Venerable Miao Yen, huh? Ning Fan secretly remembered this name. He thought that Venerable Miao Yen was most likely the immortal venerable of the human race who helped them in the past. After remaining silent for a while, Ning Fan suddenly flicked his finger. The map jade slip in his hand immediately turned into a ray of light and flew out of the ground. This map jade slip is what I obtained when I killed the poison dragon guards. Bring it back and hand it to Venerable Miao Yen. Tell Venerable Miao Yen that the demon race is trying to unseal the ancient formations in the ancient wild region. The formations marked in this jade slip are only part of the ancient formations. We don't know what the demon race is planning. Venerable Miao Yen, please take extra precautions. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan dispersed the aura force that was exerting on the few women. Then, he used the earth escape technique and returned to the barbarian valley. He no longer paid attention to the few female immortal cultivators. Has that senior left? Feeling that the aura force on her body was relieved, a round-faced female cultivator in black robes immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Are we going to hand this jade slip to Venerable Miao Yen? One of the female cultivators muttered to herself. Of course we are. Who knows, we might be able to make a great contribution if we hand over this jade slip. The few women carefully kept the jade slip. After calming themselves down, they hurriedly left the place and returned to the southern territory. While they were still on the way, they used a secret technique to pass all kinds of information to Venerable Miao Yen. Ning Fan, on the other hand, returned to the barbarian valley and left with Immortal Loli and Lu Yen. A few days later, all the experts of the human race came out and began to search for the ancient formations in all the unconquered barbarian regions. They were then handed over to two venerated immortals of the human race to destroy them. As soon as the news spread to the Northern Territory, it immediately shocked the demon races of the Northern Territory. The one who was the most shocked was Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Damn it! How did the human race discover our scheme? Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon's furious roar resounded across the 7 regions of the demon race. Then, he ordered all the experts of the demon race to go out and break the ancient formations at all costs. Moreover, Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon personally went to stop the human race from breaking the ancient formations. The human cultivators were desperately trying to destroy the ancient formations while the demon cultivators were desperately trying to break them. Everyone knew that something big was about to happen in the desolate land which had been peaceful for a long time. Turbulent undercurrents were surging. Ning Fan did not get involved in the chaos. With his cultivation base, he would not be able to play much of a role in such a chaotic situation. Even though the human race tried their best to destroy the incomplete formations, many of them were still successfully broken by the demon race. Black snowflakes began to fall across the entire desolate land. As soon as the black snowflakes fell, the desolate land became chaotic. Every day, many barbarians transformed into wild beasts. Every day, there would be barbarian cities being massacred by wild beasts. Ning Fan walked on the official road of the barbarian city. Looking at the black snowflakes that covered the sky, his eyes gradually turned solemn. He did not wear the ghost mask. Lu Yen and Immortal Loli followed behind him and he was holding a longbow made of dragon horn in his hand. Along the way, the longbow kept flattering him. Obviously, it was extremely afraid of him. Master, oh Master, you are the most powerful cultivator that Little Bao has ever seen in my life. You are actually able to create a real bridge on the true illusion river. You are 100 times more powerful than Little Bao's previous master. Little Bao is able to become Master's Bao and help Master conquer the world. Master, oh Master. Why are you so lucky with women? I'm really envious of you. There are 2 extremely beautiful women following behind you. Even though one of them is still a little young, being young has its own advantages. Hee hee. What? Master's bone age is actually below 10,000. This is really unbelievable. I'm really a frog at the bottom of a well. I've lived for so many years but I've never seen such a peerless genius like you. Hee hee. My mouth is getting a little dry after talking so much. The seal in my body is also getting tighter. Master, can you help me loosen the seal? Ah. Master, please stop. This barbaric flash is not fun. It's not fun at all. The only thing that responded to the longbow was the barbaric flash in Ning Fan's hand. Every time Ning Fan used the barbaric flash, the longbow would cry for its parents in pain and shut its mouth obediently. However, it would forget the pain after a while and continue to talk nonsense with Ning Fan. What it got in return was another round of barbaric flash. In order to find out the information about the key in the longbow's memory, Ning Fan had used the reverse spirit technique more than once to search the longbow's soul. He also threatened the longbow to unlock the seal on its memory more than once so that he could read it. Under Ning Fan's threats and promises, the longbow finally unlocked its memory and allowed Ning Fan to search its soul. Unfortunately, the memories sealed by the Bao spirit were also incomplete. There was not much useful information. The only information about the key that Ning Fan obtained was only one. There were a total of 9 keys in the world. Each of them was the key to leave the illusory world and enter the heavenly desolate ancient realm. What is the illusory world? What is the heavenly desolate ancient realm? Ning Fan shook his head. His eyes were filled with confusion and he continued to move forward in the black snow. As if he was tired of listening to the longbow's nagging, Ning Fan strengthened the seal on the longbow and threw it back into the profound Yin world under the longbow's indignant gaze. He did not kill the longbow. According to the longbow's memory, the true dragon clan possessed one of the 9 keys. The longbow's existence could help to unlock the seal on that key. The snow in the wild wasteland was getting heavier and heavier. The entire place had turned into a world of black snow. To the barbarians, it was a snow disaster. The situation of the barbarians was getting more and more difficult. On one hand, they had to deal with the snow disaster. On the other hand, they had to deal with the attacks of the wild beasts. At the same time, they had to be wary of the barbarians around them turning into beasts, in the 8th district of the unconquered barbarian domain, the Heavenly Barbarian City. The Heavenly Barbarian City was the largest city in the 8th district of the barbarian domain. Due to the large number of barbarian monks stationed in the city had always been peaceful and never feared the attacks of wild beasts. However, ever since the black snow fell from the sky, there would be barbarians who would transform into wild beasts without warning every day and wreak havoc in the city. Even if those wild beasts were killed by the barbarian monks in the end, there would still be many people who died in the mouths of the wild beasts. On the city wall of the Heavenly Barbarian City stood a beautiful woman in black who looked around 20 years old. She was wearing a monk's robe and holding a prayer bead in her hand. She used to have a common name, Zhao Dai, Now, her Dharma name was Wei. She was one of the 3 great barbarian monks with the strongest abilities in the Heavenly Barbarian City. Wei, Hubugue. She was waiting for Ning Fan's return. Due to the success of her barbarian technique, Zhao Dai, could maintain her youthful appearance and extend her lifespan by borrowing the power of the masses. Her lifespan was a few times longer than a mortal. If her barbarian technique continued to improve, she would be able to live longer. Although barbarians couldn't cultivate, they could still extend their lifespan in this way. However, even though she could slow down her own aging, she couldn't slow down the aging of her parents. A barbarian who couldn't become a barbarian monk was destined to have a short lifespan. Her parents had already died a few years ago. As for her, because she cultivated the barbarian technique, she could have an extraordinarily long lifespan. 4 years ago, my father passed away. 3 years ago, my mother also passed away. Last year, Uncle Zhao Sen also passed away. Now, there are no more acquaintances from Bianliang in the Heavenly Barbarian City. Uncle, where are you? It's been 50 years. Why haven't you come to visit me? I miss you. I really miss you. Zhao Dai, stood on the city wall and stared blankly at the black snow that covered the sky. She was missing Ning Fan and waiting for his return. Her fingers gently stroked the bone pendant on her neck. That was the present Ning Fan gave her when she reached adulthood. As time passed, she finally began to understand why Ning Fan was able to do so many strange things in the past. Ning Fan casually plucked a plum blossom and it turned into a spiritual herb in the mortal world. Ning Fan killed barbarian monks like ants with a wave of his hand. Ning Fan had never used any barbarian technique. He wasn't a barbarian monk. With Zhao Dai's experience, she could already guess that Uncle Ning Fan, whom she missed the most, might not be a barbarian. Could Uncle be a cultivator of a foreign race? Only a cultivator of a foreign race can possess cultivation base and display the power of an immortal like the barbarian ancestor without the help of the power of faith. Uncle once said that his hometown is very far away. It's so far that I won't be able to reach it in my lifetime. So, it turns out that Uncle's hometown isn't in the wild wilderness. That's the reason why I can't go there. Barbarian people can't leave the wild wilderness. If they leave, they will die. I can't go to Uncle's hometown. It's really regretful, Uncle. Do you still remember me? Have you forgotten me? Zhao Dai stroked the bone pendant on her neck. Her heart ached faintly. When she thought that she might have been forgotten by Ning Fan, even breathing hurt her. She suddenly regretted becoming a barbarian monk. She could only watch her relatives grow old and die without being able to stop them or accompany them. She could only live alone like this. It's so tiring. It was unknown when a snow eagle had flown over from the snowy sky. It was the messenger eagle that was reared by Heaven Man City. When the guards took the secret letter from the eagle and read it, their expressions immediately changed and reported to Zhao Dai, Master of Wei. Urgent report. Urgent report. 300 black barbarian monks have gathered an army of savage beasts and are invading our Heaven Man City. Zhao Dai's reminiscing expression immediately disappeared. Her pretty face turned cold. The black barbarian monks were obviously barbarians, but somehow, they could control savage beasts and make them obey their orders. In the past, the black barbarian monks didn't have the ability to control savage beasts. However, ever since the black snow fell from the sky, the black barbarian monks gained this strange ability, 300 black barbarian monks. I wonder if our Heaven Man city can withstand this attack. Even if we can, what about the next time? Zhao Dai's beautiful eyes looked at the countless barbarian statues on the city wall and sighed. Those barbarian statues were more or less broken. Sooner or later, they would be completely destroyed by the savage beasts that were attacking the city. That day would be the day of Heaven Man City's destruction. The urgent report quickly spread across the entire Heaven Man City. The 200 barbarian monks in Heaven Man City were all gathered on the city wall. Standing next to Zhao Dai were two other powerful barbarian monks. Their faces were solemn. An hour later, 300 black riders could be vaguely seen on the snowy plains in the distance. They were all black barbarian monks. Behind the black barbarian monks were nearly 100 giant savage beasts that charged towards Heaven Man City without a care for anything else. Hiss! This time, the black barbarian monks have attracted 100 savage beasts to attack the city. How can the remaining broken barbarian statues in Heaven Man City withstand the attack of 100 savage beasts? The barbarian monks of Heaven Man City were all in despair. Many of them began to close their eyes and chant scriptures. They were chanting the expiation scripture. It was obvious that they were prepared to die in battle. Zhao Dai's expression was very calm. She wasn't too afraid of the possibility of death. Death wasn't scary. To her, what was scary was living alone for a long time and not being able to wait for the person she was waiting for. Her beautiful eyes looked at the few plum trees below the city wall. She looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar red plum blossoms and smiled bitterly. The plum blossoms had bloomed again, but her uncle still hadn't come. Her uncle wouldn't come. He would never come again. Her uncle wasn't a barbarian. The wilderness wasn't his home. He might have left a long time ago. Zhao Dai gradually put away the sadness on her face. A hint of determination appeared in her beautiful eyes as she shouted and gave the order, fight to the death. Be it the barbarian monks or the soldiers guarding the city, all of them had solemn expressions on their faces as they prepared for the upcoming battle to the death. However, at that moment, 3 figures slowly walked over on the official road outside the city. The city gate was tightly shut. It seemed like the 3 of them couldn't enter the city and didn't intend to enter. The 2 women, one big and one small, remained outside the city gate. As for the white-robed man, he looked at the top of the city wall and smiled. He seemed to have said something, but no one could hear it clearly. Following that, the white-robed man walked toward the army of wild beasts in a relaxed manner. His white robe was dazzling in the midst of the black snow that filled the sky. He was alone in front of the army of savage beasts and he seemed so insignificant. Is that person crazy? He's actually walking towards the army of savage beasts. He doesn't want to live anymore. Many of the soldiers guarding the city began to exclaim. Zhao Dai was the only one who stood there blankly, unable to believe the scene in front of her. Her uncle whom she had been missing for a long time actually came at this moment. She had no idea that the bone pendant on her neck was glowing faintly. Only when she was in a life-threatening situation would the bone pendant emit light. Ning Fan came to the Heaven Barbarian City because he sensed the light. Don't be afraid, Ning Fan's voice resounded in Zhao Dai's ears. Apart from making her feel relieved, it also made her feel a little wronged. Tears flowed down uncontrollably from her eyes. She had waited for 50 years and Ning Fan had finally come. There's actually a madman who wants to stop the army of savage beasts by himself? Ha! Kill him! Among the 300 black barbarian monks, many of them immediately let out a bloodthirsty sneer. Some of them even drew their blades from their waist and rushed towards Ning Fan on their horses. Ning Fan did not even look at the black barbarian monks who were rushing towards him. His 5 fingers were wrapped in barbaric flashes of light. He raised his hand and clawed, as if he was holding the entire sky in his hand. Then, he forcefully tore it apart. The ground in front of him that was covered with black snow was immediately torn apart from the middle as if it was being torn apart by someone. The sky that was covered with black snow was directly torn apart by Ning Fan, revealing the dark and gloomy void behind it. The black and red barbaric flashes of the black barbarian monks flew towards the black barbarian monks and the army of savage beasts before they could even react. Before the 300 black barbarian monks could react, they were all killed by the power of the barbaric flash along with their horses. Their bodies and flesh were scattered all over the ground. How could mere mortals resist the might of the barbaric flash? Nearly 100 savage beasts were filled with fear. They wanted to flee but they could not do so in time and were directly killed by the barbaric flash. Even the savage beasts that were comparable to life immortal realm experts were no match for Ning Fan at all. Even a few early crossing truth realm savage beasts were powerless to resist the barbaric flash and were killed by Ning Fan in a single strike. On the city wall of the Heaven Barbarian City, all the barbarian monks and soldiers were shocked. The image of Ning Fan who was wearing white robes and annihilating all the savage beasts while the earth was splitting and the sky was collapsing made their hearts palpitate. A foreign race. This man must be a foreign cultivator. Moreover, even among the foreign races, he is definitely an extremely powerful existence. Some of the more experienced barbarian monks exclaimed in shock. Chapter 878. Black snow fell from the sky like the feathers of a crow. The warmth of the corpses on the ground gradually turned cold and stiff. The blood of the corpses also gradually solidified. Be it the savage beasts or the black barbarian monks, their blood was black, dirty and evil. Ning Fan looked at the black blood on the ground thoughtfully. Countless barbarians of Heavenly Man City climbed up the city walls and looked at Ning Fan in fear. They were already convinced that Ning Fan was a foreign cultivator. Compared to the savage beasts that were suppressed by the barbaric statues, the barbarians were more afraid of a foreign cultivator who was not suppressed by the barbaric statues. If a foreign cultivator wants to massacre the barbarian city, almost no one could stop him. Everyone, don't be afraid. He is not an enemy. Zhao Dai's cold voice spread in the wind and snow, entering the ears of every barbarian. The expressions of those barbarians became doubtful. It was hard for them to believe that Ning Fan, who was an ominous star, was not an enemy. As if to prove Zhao Dai's words, Ning Fan, Lu Yan and Xian Loli turned into a ray of light and flew up the city walls. They appeared in front of Zhao Dai with a smile. There was no hostility in their eyes. The fear on many barbarians' faces lessened slightly. However, they still did not dare to breathe too loudly. After Du Zhen, Ning Fan's appearance returned to its youthful state. He no longer looked old. He was even younger than what Zhao Dai remembered. Zhao Dai stared at Ning Fan blankly. After 50 years of hardship and waiting, the person she wanted to see had finally arrived. However, her eyes were blurred with tears and she choked with sobs. Ning Fan looked at Zhao Dai, who had achieved success in her barbaric technique and revealed a gratified smile. His expression was gentle like a senior looking at a junior. However, after scanning the Heavenly Man City with his spirit sense, Ning Fan's eyes dimmed and he sighed softly. With the strength of his spirit sense, he could easily find the Zhao mansion in the city. However, what made him feel regretful was that there was no qi of Zhao Boyang and his wife in the mansion. However, their memorial tablets were enshrined there. My old friends have already passed away. I have no chance to meet them. Can you bring me to pay my respects to Brother Boyang? Ning Fan sighed. He reached out his hand and stroked Zhao Dai's silky black hair with a sad expression. Zhao Dai's eyes dimmed and she nodded. On this night, Ning Fan sat alone in front of Zhao Boyang's grave. He drank alone until the third watch of the night. Zhao Boyang was a friend of his in the mortal world whom he got to know when he was transforming into a mortal. It had been 50 years since they last met. Ning Fan felt somewhat regretful that he could not see him again. He was indifferent to life and death, so he naturally wouldn't be too sorrowful. However, he was rather regretful that he lost a mortal friend to discuss Confucianism with. In this world, there were people dying every minute and every second, but how many of them could make Ning Fan feel regret? The snow was getting heavier, and the night was as dark as ink, like a nightmare that could not be broken free from. Under Lu Yan's care, Xian Loli had already fallen asleep. Occasionally, he would raise his wine gourd and gulp down mouthfuls of wine. Then, he would raise his head and look at the night sky with a perplexed expression. Seeing the passing of an old friend actually evoked a trace of nostalgia in him, causing him to once again recall his hometown that was far away in the rain world. The god of war art had broken through to the fourth transformation, and he had achieved his goal of coming to the boorish land. He had even broken through to the crossing truth intermediate stage. It was time to return to Eastern Sky and save Battle King. Lu Yan had also completed the Harmonious Spirit Realm mission in the astrolabe a long time ago. Once he returns to Eastern Heaven, he could go to the true Lightning World at any time. It was time to fulfill Lightning Emperor Tai Su's last wish. After that, he would accompany Ouyang Nuan to the Extreme Pill's sacred region. After that, where should he go? Should he go home and have a look? It seemed like he could not return to the Rain World from Eastern Heaven. He had to go back to the Rain World from Northern Heaven or Southern Heaven. Who asked him to give up the immortal seed to become an immortal? Looking at the red plum tree beside the grave, Ning Fan's eyes became even more dazed. He somewhat missed the snow in 7 Apricot City. Ever since I started cultivating, I have broken through life and death, understood the void and comprehended the truth, and achieved my current cultivation base. Master is just Du Zhen and Emperor Xia is just comparable to Du Zhen. As for me, I am also Du Zhen. In the past, Bone Sovereign, Moksha Sovereign and Void Fragmentation Sovereign Realm cultivators had a cultivation base as high as a mountain, making me breathless. Now, Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators are not worth mentioning in my eyes. In the ancient heavenly court, I was once chased by a life immortal. Now, a life immortal is just like a flower in front of me. The sect leader of the Pill sect is Du Zhen. He was once a great enemy that I was extremely afraid of. Now, he is merely a turtle in a jar. If there is time, I don't even need to use all my trump cards to flatten the Pill sect and avenge Ming. Quebec Pill sect is nothing but a skeleton in its grave. My cultivation base is getting higher and higher, but my home is getting further and further away. Has Master's wife awakened? Has Mother awakened? Does Father still love to drink as much as before? How many plum blossoms have bloomed in Si Fan Palace of 7 Apricot City this year? Ning Gu, how many reincarnations have you gone through? Gudong Gudong in the dead of the night, only the sound of the wind and the sound of Ning Fan drinking spiritual wine could be heard. Even though his cultivation base was already so high, he still could not stop moving forward. Does this path of cultivation have an end? I don't know. The only thing I can do is to keep moving forward. There are still strong enemies behind me. They won't allow me to stop moving forward. Great Emperor Mo Luo, Old Ancestor Du Long, Immortal Emperor Zhang Qing and that silver-haired Immortal Emperor who had schemed against my parents. There are still many strong enemies. Ning Fan suddenly patted his storage pouch and took out a cloaked puppet from it. This cloaked puppet was obtained by Ning Fan after he killed the thousand-eyed old man in the cave world of the Six Desires Immortal King. It was a puppet of desire and it could only be controlled by the puppet strings of the Six Desires. After the battle in the past, Ning Fan had obtained 2 puppets of desire. One of them was the early Shedding Kong Realm Ancient Devil puppet while the other one was this puppet. This puppet had a powerful aura force comparable to the Mid-Thought Fragmentation Realm. If Ning Fan could control this puppet, old monster Shi Kong would be nothing. He would kill almost every single one of them. In the past, my cultivation base wasn't strong enough to control this puppet. Now, I can give it a try. With a thought, Ning Fan unsealed the power of the Yin-Yang Rain technique and the Yin-Yang Battle technique. His aura force immediately skyrocketed to a level that was close to the Shedding Kong realm. After activating the fourth transformation of his battle art, his ancient devil cultivation base immediately rose to the fourth nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. Then, he used the soul extracting technique. Under the dual cultivation of body and essence, Ning Fan's aura force completely broke through the bottleneck of the Shedding Kong realm and reached the early Shedding Kong realm. He activated the power of the six desires bone in his body to its maximum. Countless invisible puppet strings of desire flew out from his fingertips and entered the body of the cloaked puppet. The moment the puppet strings entered its body, its eyes shone with a dark green light, releasing a shocking aura force similar to that of an awakened giant dragon. Under Ning Fan's deliberate control, the aura force was limited to the area of the graveyard. It did not spread too far to avoid scaring the barbarians in the Heavenly Man City. In order to activate the puppet, Ning Fan's magic power was being consumed at a terrifying speed. Under his full control, the puppet finally moved. I can control this puppet, but it's barely enough. After all, I'm not a true Shedding Kong realm cultivator yet. My magic power is still insufficient. Ning Fan stopped transferring his magic power to the puppet and resealed the Yin-Yang realm, Rain realm and Battle realm. The dark green light in the puppet's eyes immediately disappeared and its eyes became empty. After keeping the puppet, Ning Fan stood alone in the darkness and drank spiritual wine. No one knew what he was thinking about. Zhao Dai quietly watched Ning Fan's back without disturbing him. She just watched him for the entire night. After waiting for 50 years, Ning Fan had finally returned. Her heart was filled with emotions, but she kept all of them in her heart. It had become a secret and she did not say it out loud. The snow was getting heavier. Zhao Dai's thoughts flew back to the past along with the snowflakes. At that time, she was still young. She spent her days watching Ning Fan build snowmen and pluck plum blossoms. Do you want to go back to Bianliang to have a look? Ning Fan's voice suddenly resounded in her ears, giving her a fright. I do, but Bianliang is too far away. It's not far. I also want to go back to Bianliang to have a look. Why don't you accompany me there? We'll be back before dawn. What do you think? Before Zhao Dai could react, she suddenly let out a cry and her face blushed. Her body felt light and Ning Fan held her waist. They turned into a golden rainbow and soared into the sky. Before the night was over, Ning Fan carried Zhao Dai and directly flew back to Bianliang City from the Heavenly Man City with a golden ray of light. Due to the black snow, Bianliang City had been repeatedly attacked by the wild beasts. Now, it was already in a state of complete ruin. Since it was already late at night, it looked even more desolate. Zhao Dai had not returned to Bianliang for 50 years. She did not dare to recognize this dilapidated barbarian city at all. She could not imagine that this was the once prosperous Bianliang City. 50 years had passed. Bianliang City had changed a lot. Only the water of the Bianliang River remained the same. The weather was still cold and chilly. Red plum blossoms were still blooming on both sides of the river. However, the snowflakes were no longer pure white. They had turned pitch black, which did not match the red plum blossoms at all. Things remained the same, but people had changed. It made her want to cry, but she could not cry. The most heartless thing in this world was time. Once it passed, it could never be returned. Don't cry. The plum blossoms are still here. Even though the snow is as black as ink and not as white as it used to be, we can still build snowmen. Ning Fan casually plucked a red plum blossom and inserted it into Zhao Dai's temple. With a faint smile, he turned around to build a snowman. Zhao Dai suddenly recalled the past when she was young. At that time, she begged Ning Fan to build 5 snowmen and even gave all of them a specific identity. This is my father. This is my mother. This is Sister Sia. This is Dai. This is Uncle. Let's live a happy life together. We will be happy and carefree. Uncle, build a snowman for Dai. When Dai grows up, you must marry me. I want you to build snowmen for me every day. Zhao Dai's eyes turned red and her vision blurred with tears. The 5 snowmen in the past had already passed away. Now, only Ning Fan and her were still alive. Don't cry. In this world, you still have a relative like me. Ning Fan patted Xiao Dai's head. This time, he only built 2 snowmen. One was big and the other was small. The way he looked at Xiao Dai was like a junior or a relative. His gaze was a little harsh, but it made Xiao Dai feel attached to him. Uncle, according to the books, it is not difficult for the cultivators of the foreign races to live up to 100,000 years or even 1,000,000 years after they become immortals. Is this true? Yes. Can Uncle also live that long? If I don't die on the path of cultivation, I should be able to live for that long. Ning Fan answered with uncertainty. What a pity. Dai can't live for that long. Even if I'm a powerful barbarian monk, I can only live for a few hundred years at most. After a few hundred years, when Uncle comes to the wild wilderness again, you won't be able to see me anymore. Unless I can become an existence like the barbarian ancestor, otherwise. Xiao Dai lowered her head. This was the main reason why she did not have the courage to confess her love to Ning Fan. Her lifespan and Ning Fan's were too different. Ning Fan sighed softly. He did not know what to say to comfort her. Ever since the 7th barbarian ancestor performed a blood sacrifice in the wild wilderness, the barbarians could not live forever due to certain reasons. Even though Ning Fan had given Xiao Dai many pills to consume, it could only slightly prolong her lifespan. It could not make her live forever. Uncle, don't show such an expression. Dai is not used to it. I'm already satisfied to be able to meet you in my lifetime. Xiao Dai mustered all her courage. Her cheeks were so red that it seemed like blood would drip from them. She reached out her hand, trying to hold Ning Fan's hand. Unfortunately, before she could touch Ning Fan, her action was interrupted by the laughter of an old man. Ha! Little friend, you've finally returned to Bianliang City. You've really made me wait for a long time. If you still haven't returned after another half a year, I would have to go ahead with the other fellow Taoists to search for that fortune. Little friend, you've succeeded. Hiss. I haven't seen you for 50 years and you've already reached the intermediate crossing True Realm. In the darkness of the Bian River, a gaily painted boat suddenly sailed towards them. There was only an old man on the boat. He stood on the snowy river with his hands clasped behind his back and a smile on his face. This old man was none other than Kei Shensi, who Ning Fan had met 50 years ago. Oh. I didn't expect to reunite with Senior here. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and flew to Kei Shensi's gaily painted boat with Xiao Dai. This is... Kei Shensi's gaze swept across Xiao Dai, and asked with slight surprise. I'm a descendant of an old acquaintance. Hee. So that's how it is. There's still half a year before the fortune that I mentioned in the past appears. How about it? Little friend, are you willing to explore the northern region with me and search for that fortune? Kei Shensi changed the topic and did not pay too much attention to Xiao Dai. Even though she was a barbarian monk, she was still very weak and did not attract his attention. Xiao Dai obediently did not interrupt. She could tell that Kei Shensi's cultivation base was extremely terrifying. He was a powerful being of a foreign race. Could the fortune that Senior mentioned be the Chen tree? Ning Fan asked with a smile. As soon as his voice fell, Kei Shensi's expression immediately changed and he looked at him in disbelief. After a long time, he revealed a look of admiration and laughed heartily. Little friend is indeed extraordinary. You actually know that the fortune that I mentioned is the Chen tree. In the 4 heavens, there aren't many cultivators who know about the Chen tree. I wonder, how did you know about the origin of the Chen tree? Senior, why don't you tell me how dangerous the journey to the northern region will be? I wonder how many helpers Senior has invited other than me. Oh. Little friend, are you willing to help me go to the northern region and search for the Chen tree? Kei Shensi's eyes lit up. Junior would like to hear Senior's answer first before giving my answer. Hee. Little friend, you are a cautious person. Fine. In order to win your help with your celestial being realm cultivation base, I will tell you the details of this journey. As soon as he finished speaking, Kei Shensi took out a jade slip and carved something on it before handing it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense and his expression changed slightly. After tens of breaths, he returned the jade slip to Kei Shensi and pondered. The demon race had occupied 7 great barbarian regions in the desolate land. The location of the Chen tree was located in the Yellow River Snow Valley at the periphery of the 7 regions. It was sealed in a secret place and guarded by a few experts of the demon race. Currently, the desolate land had fallen into chaos. All the experts of the demon race had left their nests. In order to break the sealing incomplete formation, they spared no effort. Thus, there weren't many experts left to guard the headquarters. If Ning Fan sneaked into the Yellow River Snow Valley and stole the Chen tree and Chen flower at this time, it wouldn't be too dangerous. If he could obtain the Chen tree and Chen flower, the cultivator who opened the first gate of the Celestial Being Realm would have a chance to open the second gate of the Celestial Being Realm. To Ning Fan, the Chen flower was indeed a great temptation. The passage leading to the ancient realm of the desolate land would open once every 10 years. There were still 2 years before the next opening. Before leaving the desolate land, Ning Fan didn't mind going to the Yellow River Snow Valley to steal the Chen tree and Chen flower. Other than me, there are 4 other fellow Taoists on this trip. The lowest cultivation base is at the Peak Crossing Truth Realm. All of them are powerful cultivators of the Northern Heaven Immortal World. Each of them has their own abilities and each of them is helpful in plucking the Chen flower. If little friend joins the team, there will be a total of 6 people on this trip. How about it? Little friend, are you willing to go with me to pluck the Chen flower? Kei Shensi asked expectantly. Ning Fan's cultivation base was not enough for Kei Shensi to pay attention to him. However, Ning Fan was a cultivator who had attained the unity of heaven and man after all. It would be helpful for him to pluck the Chen flower. Alright. Junior is also very interested in the Chen flower. Why can't I follow Senior to pluck the Chen flower? However, I don't know how to distribute the Chen flower. Ha! Of course, the Chen flower belongs to the one who plucks it. If it's possible, I will try my best to help you pluck some Chen flowers. As for the others, I may not help them. Kei Shensi let out a heartless smile. Even though they were working in a team, if they want to pluck the Chen flower, they would still need to rely on their own abilities. I see. Ning Fan revealed a thoughtful expression. At this moment, 4 rays of light suddenly appeared in the night sky of the Bian River. There were 3 males and 1 female. All of them were human cultivators. Among the 4 cultivators, the female cultivator had the highest cultivation base. She was a beautiful woman in blue robes. She was at the mid-shedding void realm. Her beautiful eyes were cold and she carried a cold aura that kept people 1,000 miles away. As for the other 3, one of them was a dwarf who had an early shedding void realm cultivation base. The other one was a burly man who was also at the early shedding void realm. The last man had 4 eyes. Even though his cultivation base was only at the Peak Crossing Truth Realm, his whole body was shrouded with a strange and evil chi. The 4 of them flew over and directly landed on Kei Shensi's boat. They were the other 4 helpers that Kei Shensi had invited. The beautiful woman in blue robes just gave Ning Fan an indifferent glance and then moved her eyes away arrogantly. Obviously, she was not interested in Ning Fan. Instead, she raised her eyebrows at Zhao Dai, who was a barbarian monk. As soon as the burly man boarded the boat, he burst into laughter. His body emitted an extremely strong aura of essence chi. Obviously, he was a body refinement cultivator. His eyes immediately lit up when he saw Ning Fan. Then, he shook his head slightly as if he was regretting that Ning Fan was only at the first nirvana of the heavenly devil body refinement realm. As for the man with 4 eyes, he did not utter a single word from the beginning to the end, just like a zombie. The dwarf was only as tall as Ning Fan's waist. His expression was wild and arrogant. As soon as he boarded the boat, he glanced at Ning Fan and immediately asked Kei Shensi. Fellow Taoist Kei Shensi, could this person be the helper that you mentioned? What's the use of a ghost profound realm cultivator? I don't want to bring a burden to pluck flowers. The dwarf snorted coldly, as if he did not know the fact that Ning Fan was a heavenly being cultivator. The integration of heaven and man was a very important matter. Kei Shensi did not tell anyone about it. He. Fellow Taoist too is wrong. This fellow Taoist Ning is no longer a ghost profound realm cultivator but a mid-crossing truth realm cultivator. Kei Shensi smiled meaningfully. Mid-crossing truth realm. This young man only spent 50 years to break through to the mid-crossing truth realm and cultivate to the mid-crossing truth realm? The dwarf exclaimed. The other three people also looked at Ning Fan with astonishment. The dwarf looked at Ning Fan's expression again. Suddenly, he grinned, revealing his white teeth and said, Little friend, do you also want to go with us to pluck the dust flower? Yes. If you want to join the team, sure. As long as you can pass my test. The dwarf's eyes swept across Ning Fan like lightning. He spoke arrogantly, like a senior looking at a junior. What test? Ning Fan asked expressionlessly. Use your full strength and attack me. If you can make me move half a step on this boat, I will acknowledge your strength and allow you to join the team to search for the dust flower. The dwarf sneered. He did not believe that Ning Fan had the strength to make him move half a step. Are you sure? Ning Fan stared at the dwarf expressionlessly. For some unknown reason, the dwarf's heart trembled a little as he felt a great sense of inexplicability. Strange. This young man is obviously just a junior of Duzhen. Why is he able to make my heart tremble with just a gaze? Of course, the dwarf did not know that Ning Fan was a ruthless person who could even kill a mid-shedding void realm cultivator. That was the reason why his heart trembled. He. I'm sure. Make your move. If you can make me move half a step, I'll be especially merciful and allow you to join the team. Wash up and go to sleep. Chapter 879. As soon as he finished speaking, the midget calmed down and stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes narrowed slightly. His expression was that of an old man, waiting for Ning Fan to make his move. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes fell on Ning Fan and the midget man. Kei Shensi frowned. He knew that the midget was powerful. The midget man was extremely proficient in earth elemental defensive divine ability, and he cultivated a forbidden technique called mountain-piercing scales. It was impossible for cultivators below the void-shedding realm to force the midget man to take half a step back. In Kei Shensi's opinion, Ning Fan probably couldn't do it as well. This test was purely to make things difficult for him. The beautiful lady in blue robes gently shook her head. She also did not think that Ning Fan had the strength to repel the midget man. The four-eyed man closed his eyes and chose to ignore Ning Fan. He was already certain that Ning Fan would not be able to pass the next test. The burly man shook his head repeatedly. Among the three realms of the true immortal realm, the crossing truth realm was just the threshold of the true immortal realm. Only the shedding void realm experts were the experts among the true immortals. He did not think that the mid-crossing truth realm Ning Fan would be able to defeat the early shedding void realm midget man. Old Earth's pangolin scale armor has already been cultivated to the 7th level. There is no suspense in this test at all. This child cannot pass the test. The burly man shook his head. Uncle. Zhao Dai's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of worry. Even she could faintly see that the midget man was bullying the young. Junior, make your move. Show me your full strength and let me see if you have the qualifications to travel with us. The midget's eyes fell on Ning Fan's body, but he didn't show any emotion. He only used 30% of his magical power to protect himself from Ning Fan's incoming attack. His expression was calm and unhurried. His aura force was steady and reserved, but it gave Ning Fan a heavy feeling like a mountain. This person cultivates the Tao of mountains. A mountain is a mountain because it doesn't move. I'm afraid it won't be as easy to make this person move even half a step. Kei Shensi and the others are all old ancestors of a region. They all have their own pride. If I don't have enough strength, I won't be able to win their respect. In the cultivation world, strength speaks louder than words. Ning Fan stared at the midget coldly and unsealed his yin-yang battle technique. A heavy sense of oppression gradually rose from his body and his black hair fluttered without wind. That heaviness made the midget's chest feel heavy, and his Dao heart actually wavered for a moment. At this moment, Ning Fan had only unsealed his battle yin-yang. However, his aura force had almost reached the peak of crossing Truth Realm. Without saying anything unnecessary, Ning Fan took a step forward, raised his right hand and pressed his 5 fingers forward. As soon as he pressed his palm down, the entire heaven and earth actually froze. Ning Fan extracted a trace of battle intent from the earth veins in the mountains and lakes and the bodies of the birds and beasts, forming an illusory palm imprint that was burning with the flames of battle. Then, it suddenly slammed towards the midget man. The moment the palm struck out, the midget's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. There was no longer any trace of calmness on his face. Within that palm, there was a will that came from the heavens and was above the heavens and earth. Even if the heavens and earth were in its way, it would crush the heavens and earth. The midget felt like he was hallucinating. The one who attacked him was not Ning Fan but all the living beings in the world. It was as if the battle intent of the entire heaven and earth had merged into his palm. If he was hit by that will, countless cracks would immediately appear on his Dao heart and it would be burned to ashes by the flames of battle of all living beings. This young man clearly just casually struck out with his palm. Why does it have such terrifying power? The midget's expression changed drastically. He no longer dared to face the palm head-on with just 30% of his magic power. Instead, he directly activated all of his magic power and punched his chest, making a muffled sound. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a putrid yellow qi. As soon as that yellow qi was formed, it immediately turned into a huge rock hand that grabbed at the palm imprint. However, it was directly smashed into countless pieces of rocks by the palm imprint. Almost at the same time, the palm imprint broke through the defense of the rocks and arrived at the midget's chest in an instant. A terrifying sense of crisis spread throughout the midget's body, causing his face to turn pale. Without any hesitation, he immediately activated his strongest defensive divine ability. Mountain-piercing scales appear. The midget's eyes widened and the veins on his forehead protruded. He suddenly clapped his hands together and 7 layers of dark yellow scales instantly appeared on the surface of his body, covering his clothes. From afar, he seemed to have turned into a pangolin. As soon as the palm imprint landed on the 7 layers of scales, it immediately caved in deeply. In just a moment, the first layer of scales was directly shattered. The powerful force forced the midget to take 3 steps back before he could stabilize his body slightly. Half a breath later, the second layer of scales was once again shattered by the palm imprint. The midget took another 5 steps back. Another half a breath later, the remaining force of the palm imprint was exhausted. However, it had also shattered the 3rd layer of scales, causing the midget to take another 7 steps back. In total, the midget took 15 steps back. He had already retreated to the side of the ship. If he took another half step back, he would definitely fall off the ship and into the river. Looking at the deep palm imprint on the 7 layers of scales on his chest, the midget swallowed his saliva. If he did not summon the mountain-piercing scales at the last moment, he would definitely be severely injured by that palm imprint. That was really close. Seniors, what do you think? With this junior's strength, do I have the qualifications to join the team? Ning Fan resealed Zhang Yinyang and asked indifferently. The midget was not his mortal enemy. Thus, he did not use his full strength. Otherwise, the midget would not only have his 3 layers of scales crumbled and he would also be forced to take 15 steps back. It was highly possible that Ning Fan would break through all 7 layers of scales. If that happens, he would either die or be severely injured. Even though Ning Fan did not use his full strength, it was enough to shock everyone on the scene. Ning Fan's eyes indifferently swept across everyone. Except for Kei Shensi and Zhao Dai, everyone felt a pressure that was as heavy as a mountain. Kei Shensi was able to ignore Ning Fan's aura force because he was at the peak of void-shedding realm. As for Zhao Dai, Ning Fan naturally would not use his aura force to intimidate her. Cough cough. It's my fault for not seeing through little friend's hidden strength. With little friend's strength, you naturally have the qualifications to join this trip. I don't have any objections. The midget's lips twitched and said awkwardly. Giggle. Little friend, you really don't show off your true strength. You can draw the battle intent of heaven and earth into your palm. Even I find it difficult to deal with such a profound ability. I don't have any objections to joining the team. The beautiful woman in blue robes who had an arrogant expression before was now smiling brightly. Her eyes were filled with tenderness and enthusiasm. She was like a completely different person from before. However, no one knew how much of this enthusiasm was real or fake. I agree with fellow Taoist Ning joining the team. The four-eyed man's hoarse voice sounded. It was filled with fear. The four-eyed man asked himself honestly. No matter what, he would not be able to withstand Ning Fan's palm strike with his own strength. Only by opening the forbidden coffin could he possibly withstand it, Of course, I don't have any objections. The burly man laughed. When he looked at Ning Fan again, it was as if he was looking at a cultivator of the same generation. Since the four old monsters had no objections, Ning Fan could be considered to have successfully joined the team. Kei Shensi began to introduce the four old monsters to Ning Fan. The four old monsters also began to exchange pleasantries with Ning Fan. Even the midget man who was almost injured by Ning Fan's palm strike showed a pleasant expression. There was no trace of resentment or anger on his face. Those old monsters who could cultivate to the void-shedding realm or were close to it were all people with demonic wisdom and shrewdness. Naturally, they would do some superficial things very well. After Kei Shensi's introduction, Ning Fan had a preliminary understanding of the four old monsters. The four old monsters were the same as Kei Shensi. They were all cultivators of the northern heaven. The beautiful woman in blue robes was an elder of the northern heaven's Guanghan Palace. She was known as Han Wu Fairy. Her temperament was cold and serious. Of course, that was only her attitude towards the younger generation. If she was facing her peers or seniors, she naturally wouldn't dare to be cold. This woman had broken through to the mid-void shedding realm for nearly 1,000,000 years. Therefore, her strength was considered to be extremely strong among the mid-void shedding realm cultivators. There was a ray of moonlight hidden in her glabella. It seemed to be a life-saving divine ability. That ray of moonlight gave Ning Fan a sense of crisis. In ancient times, the Guanghan Palace had also given birth to immortal emperors. Moreover, they had a close relationship with the ancient heavenly court. However, after the ancient heavenly court was destroyed, the immortal emperors of the Guanghan Palace also disappeared. It was said that they died in the ancient heavenly court. After that, no more immortal emperors were born in the Guanghan Palace. However, there were 10,000 ancient monsters in every generation. It was considered one of the peak forces of the northern heaven immortal world. Since this woman can become an elder of the Guanghan Palace, she really can't be underestimated. Ning Fan thought to himself. The burly man was one of the old ancestors of the Guan family in the northern heaven. His name was Guan Taiyun. People called him Old Ancestor Taiyun. At the same time, he had an early void-shedding realm cultivation base. He was also a pseudo-ancient devil body cultivator at the fourth nirvana of the heavenly devil realm. The Guan family wasn't considered a great force in the northern heaven. There was nothing special about this man. Hence, he didn't attract Ning Fan's attention. The four-eyed man was a cultivator from the corpse devil ancient region in the northern heaven. He was known as the four-eyed devil lord. It was said that he had already touched the bottleneck of the void-shedding realm. Within tens of thousands of years, there was a great chance for him to step into the void-shedding realm. There were dozens of evil corpse chi hidden in his body. Some of them were similar to the chi of a corpse devil, but some were not. Only Ning Fan, who was a corpse devil himself, could sense those corpse chi. Compared to old ancestor Iron Cloud, this man might have hidden even deeper. Ning Fan thought to himself. The midget man was just a rogue cultivator. The people of the northern heaven called him Old Earth Monster. His mountain-piercing scales was extremely powerful among cultivators of the same level. However, he wasn't worth mentioning to Ning Fan. Kei Shensi took out 5 jade slips of maps and gave one to each of Ning Fan's group. There is still half a year before the dust tree blossoms. Half a year later, on the day of the full moon of the Savage Moon, we will meet here and go to the Yellow River Snow Valley together. Before that, I hope that all of you will be well prepared for this trip. After all, we will be sneaking into the hinterland of the demon race. The dangers we will face won't be few. The map was the latest map of the wilderness. There was a black dot marked in the 19th area. The black dot was the location of the meeting place half a year later. After doing all this, everyone discussed for a while to finalize some details of the trip. Only then did they leave. Only Ning Fan and Zhao Dai were left on the pleasure boat. The night was over and dawn was approaching. However, the snow was falling even more heavily. Uncle, are those people like you? Are they cultivators of other races? Zhao Dai asked faintly. Are you planning to do a very dangerous thing? Can you not go? Dai is worried about Uncle. Don't worry. Uncle is stronger than you think. There won't be much danger on this trip. Even if there is, Uncle will be able to escape unscathed. Uncle is very interested in the dust flower that can help in opening the second door of the celestial being realm. Speaking of which, according to the information given to me by Senior Kei Shensi, even if an ordinary person consumes the dust flower, it can also increase their comprehension. And, if this trip goes smoothly, I will pluck a few more dust flowers and give them to Dai. Ning Fan said with a smile. In half a year's time, he would be going to the hinterland of the demon race with Kei Shensi and the others to steal the dust flowers. It was time for him to make some preparations. After daybreak, Ning Fan left Bianliang with Zhao Dai, and returned to Heaven Barbarian City to begin his seclusion that would last for half a year. During this half a year, Ning Fan only did one thing, and that was to get used to the burden of controlling the thought-severing puppet. He continuously trained himself and practiced controlling the puppet day after day. With Ning Fan's current strength, he could only slightly control the puppet by using his full strength. As Ning Fan's cultivation base improved, the time he needed to unseal the Rain Yin Yang and Battle Yin Yang had been extended from 1 hour to 2 hours. After half a year of hard work, Ning Fan could finally make the puppet launch a simple attack. Even though it was just a simple attack, it was an attack of the thought-severing puppet after all. In the sky-sacrificing realm, there were probably not many people who could withstand the attack of the thought-severing puppet. Without a doubt, this increased Ning Fan's ability to protect himself during his trip to the celestial being realm. During this half a year, 60% of the incomplete formations in the ancient wild desolate region were destroyed by the immortal venerables of the human race, while the remaining 40% were successfully unsealed by the demon race. After unsealing, the incomplete formations merged into the ancient wild desolate region and could no longer be destroyed. However, as too many of the incomplete formations were destroyed, the demon race's scheme had to be delayed indefinitely again. The snow was getting lighter and lighter. The snow disaster that troubled countless barbarians was gradually passing. Old ancestor Du Long felt incomparably resentful. First, his reverse nascent soul was destroyed. Then, his incomplete formations were destroyed. Within a short period of time, it would be very difficult for the demon race to carry out their scheme. In his fury, old ancestor Du Long carried out his revenge plan. He gathered the army of the demon race and gathered them in the 4th region. He personally oversaw the front line and began to constantly harass and invade the borders of the 5 regions of the human race. For this reason, 2 immortal venerables of the human race also led experts to guard the borders. Small-scale battles began to occur frequently at the borders of the 5 regions of the human race. However, They did not escalate into a major war or a realm war. So many of the incomplete formations have been destroyed. I wonder if the demon race's scheme has failed. Ning Fan would use his rain technique once every few days to spy on the situation in the ancient wild desolate region. As the date of the celestial being realm was getting closer and closer, Ning Fan finally decided to leave Lu Yen and the lowly in heaven barbarian city. He would go to the 19th region alone to meet up with Kei Shensi and the others. After all, it was deep into the territory of the demon race. There were many dangers. It was enough for Ning Fan to take the risk alone. It was impossible for him to bring the lowly along. Because of the evolution of her lightning body, the lowly could not be kept into the world treasure space. Because Xiao Dai, was a barbarian, she could not enter the world treasure space either. Once she enters, she would be killed by the Tao of the realm. If that was not the case, Ning Fan would be very happy to bring the lowly and Xiao Dai, with him for peace of mind. Peace of mind? Can I really have peace of mind? One day, I will leave the ancient wild desolate region. As for Dai, she is rejected by the four heavenly Tao because of her identity as a barbarian. She can't leave the ancient wild desolate region. There are many wars in the ancient wild desolate region. Also, there are frequent attacks by barbarian beasts. If I am not there, can Dai, be safe in the ancient wild desolate region? Even if Dai, can be safe, her lifespan is only a few hundred years. Barbarians can't live forever. Ning Fan refined all the broken lightning into lightning pills and gave them to the lowly. Then, he gave Lu Yen and Xiao Dai, some advice and gave them some life-saving items. With a sigh, he flew away from Heaven Barbarian City and headed to the 19th region. The meeting place was a barbarian mountain in the north of the 19th region. This mountain was connected to the 7 domains of the demon race. It was not far away from the Yellow River Snow Valley. When Ning Fan arrived, there were already 3 people on the peak of the mountain. Ning Fan was the 4th to arrive. The 4-eyed Devil Sovereign and Old Earth were still not here. Old Earth was the 5th to arrive. His Earth escape technique had reached perfection. After all, Ning Fan only sensed his chi when they were 10,000 li away from the barbarian mountain. The 4-eyed Devil Sovereign was the last to arrive. The reason why he was late was because he was refining the forbidden corpse. Hee. Everyone is finally here. Next, this old man will talk about the specific plan of attacking the Snow Valley. Kei Shensi took out a scroll made of beast skin and unfolded it, revealing the precise map of the Yellow River Snow Valley. In ancient times, the Yellow River Snow Valley was located at the source of the Yellow River. However, due to the great changes in the terrain of the ancient wild desolate region, the Yellow River Snow Valley had long been sealed in a secret barrier at the border of the 7 domains by a powerful expert of the demon race. The dust flower could increase a cultivator's comprehension ability. If they were lucky, it could even help them open the gate of heaven. With such a magical effect, the dust flower was naturally valued by the demon race. Unfortunately, ever since the demon race obtained the dust tree, countless powerful experts of the demon race had tried to pluck the dust flower from the dust tree. However, all of them failed without exception. Gradually, the demon race no longer valued the dust flower as much as they did in the beginning. Every time the dust flower bloomed, they would only send some demon cultivators to try and pluck it. Of course, they would still fail in the end. The dust tree blooms once every 5 million years. The flower will wither after 45 minutes. Therefore, we can't be too late to attack the Snow Valley. Otherwise, the flower will wither. We can't be too early either. If we are too early, we will have to wait for the flower to bloom for too long. During this period of time, I'm afraid we will attract countless demon cultivators to attack us. This old man once obtained an ancient book in a secret place in the ancient wild desolate region. According to the ancient book, in order to pluck the dust flower, one actually needs to perform a special finger seal. Otherwise, one won't be able to touch the dust flower. After nearly 1 million years of research, this old man finally comprehended an incomplete set of finger seals from that ancient book. I wonder if I can use this set of finger seals to pluck the dust flower. This is the jade scroll of finger seals that this old man comprehended. Everyone, please take a look. This old man can't guarantee that all of you will be able to pluck the dust flower, but we can give it a try. Having said that, Kei Shensi took out a jade scroll of finger seals and passed it to everyone. Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly when he glanced at the jade scroll. The finger seals recorded in this jade scroll were very similar to the finger seals that Red Yiksha had performed in the first illusion of Duzhen, but there were also many errors. No one knew if they would be able to pluck the dust flower with the erroneous finger seals. The other four already knew that the success rate of plucking the dust flower wasn't high, but they didn't care about it. They were already mentally prepared to fail in plucking the flower. To Kei Shensi and the others, this trip to pluck the dust flower might just be an experiment. However, they didn't know that Ning Fan knew the real plucking flower finger seal. However, Ning Fan didn't intend to share this seal with everyone for the time being. Because right after that, Kei Shensi did something that made Ning Fan secretly vigilant. Kei Shensi took out 5 dark red pills one after another and gave them to Ning Fan and the others, one for each of them. This pill is called the Barbarian Blood Pill. This old man refined it by collecting the blood essence of countless savage beasts. Even though it's only an 8th revolution pill, it's very important for our trip to the dust-stealing flower. According to what this old man knows, in the barrier that seals the Yellow River Snow Valley, there's a blood river formed by the corpses of savage beasts. Above the blood river, there's not a single goose feather floating on it. There's no way to fly across the blood river unless you're an ancient monster. You can only swim across it. That blood river has the ability to erode one's mind. Even if your abilities aren't weak, it's very likely that you'll lose your life in the blood river if you're not careful. At that time, if you take this pill, you can temporarily resist the power of the blood river and directly fly across the blood river. The other 4 carefully checked the pills and didn't find anything unusual. They kept the pills and thanked Kei Shensi for his kindness. Ning Fan also kept the pills without changing his expression and thanked Kei Shensi, but his heart was already filled with suspicion. Ning Fan didn't see anything wrong with the pills, but the moment he held the pills, the tribulation blood in his body reacted as if it was poison and rejected the pills. Is this barbarian blood pill harmful to me because of the tribulation blood in my body? Or is this pill harmful to everyone and has nothing to do with the tribulation blood? It's fine if it's only harmful to me. After all, Kei Shensi doesn't know that I have the tribulation blood in my body. He might not have any ulterior motives. But if it's harmful to everyone, it seems that Kei Shensi has an ulterior motive. Of course, it's also possible that even Kei Shensi himself doesn't know that this pill is harmful to the human body. Am I overthinking it? Kei Shensi was the old ancestor who founded Sinister Sparrow sect. The comprehension of rain that he left behind in the Dark Sparrow's grave had once helped Ning Fan a lot. Ning Fan always had a trace of gratitude towards Kei Shensi, and he more or less retained some trust in him. Otherwise, with Ning Fan's personality, he definitely wouldn't like to team up with others. After obtaining the news of the dust flower, he would most likely choose to steal it alone. He wouldn't even give a single strand of hair to others. Looking at Kei Shensi's sincere smile, Ning Fan sighed inwardly. I hope I'm overthinking it. Ning Fan and the others waited for another 5 days on the Barbarian Mountain. They waited for the right time for the dust tree to bloom. Then, they concealed themselves and sneaked into the periphery of the northern region. The periphery of the northern region had been uninhabited for thousands of years. Usually, there weren't many demons stationed there. Now that old ancestor Du Long had taken away most of the demon army in the northern region, this place was even more deserted. The barrier that sealed the Yellow River Snow Valley was located on a snowy plain. The black snowy plain was desolate and bleak. There wasn't a single demon cultivator in sight. When they arrived at this point, Ning Fan and the others carefully revealed themselves and divided into 3 groups. Each of them took out a compass and calculated the location of the barrier. After confirming the location of the barrier, the 6 of them simultaneously tore open the barrier and entered it silently. Inside the barrier, there was a maze built outside the Yellow River Snow Valley. As soon as the 6 of them entered the barrier, they immediately appeared in the maze and were teleported to different locations. Am I at the southwest corner of the maze? Ning Fan formed hand seals with his 10 fingers and activated his rain technique. Very soon, he found out the layout of the maze. There were a total of 12 exits. He decided to act according to the plan that they had discussed in advance. After walking out of the maze, they would think of a way to meet up outside the maze. According to the information given by Kei Shensi, this maze was only patrolled by a small number of Life Immortal Realm demon cultivators. If they encounter patrolling demon cultivators along the way, they must knock them out with lightning speed and try their best not to kill them. Moreover, they must try their best to suppress the magic power fluctuations so that the demon cultivators guarding outside the maze would not notice the changes in the maze. Every patrolling demon cultivator had a life plate. Once they kill a demon cultivator and the life plate breaks, it would immediately attract the attention of the demon cultivators guarding outside the maze. Ning Fan identified one of the exits that was closest to him. He concealed his chi and began to move stealthily in the maze. All the Life Immortal Realm demon cultivators that he encountered along the way were knocked out by Ning Fan's Fuli illusion technique. No one could stop him. However, just as Ning Fan was about to reach the exit, a giggle suddenly rang in his ears. Even though it was obviously charming, it gave him a bone-chilling feeling. Who can tell me why there are human cultivators sneaking into the Yellow River Maze during the season when the dust flowers are about to bloom? Could it be that you are here for the dust-stealing flower? If that's the case, I can't let you continue moving forward. The moment that voice reached Ning Fan's ears, a blazing flame light was already heading straight for his back. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He subconsciously turned his body to the side and dodged that attack. Then, he pointed a finger at the back and a dark golden sword light slashed at his back. It was none other than the memory-severing Dao sword. Hee. It's actually a Dao weapon that was refined using the purple chi of the heavenly Dao. Interesting, the woman who was chasing after Ning Fan paused her steps and dodged the attack of the memory-severing Dao sword. Her beautiful eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. She was a woman in purple robes with phoenix wings. Her appearance was charming and she had an early void-shedding realm cultivation base. She was actually a demon cultivator of the true Phoenix clan. At the same time that the woman was chasing after Ning Fan, there were also sounds of battles in the other 5 directions of the maze. Obviously, the others were also entangled by demon cultivators. Outside the maze, the demon cultivators who were guarding the place sensed the fluctuations of battle and began to fly toward the maze. What a coincidence! This princess and my 6 elder sisters are extremely bored. Just as we were having fun in the Yellow River Maze, we coincidentally encountered the invasion of you human cultivators. If I can kill all of you, it will be a meritorious service. Hee. This princess loves meritorious service the most. However, I can't let all of you go. So, I'll just kill all of you. The Phoenix demon in purple robes played with the long Dao weapon in her hand which was glowing with flames. She sneered and tapped the ground with the tip of her foot. Once again, she brandished the long sword and sent out countless purple flames towards Ning Fan. She did not put Ning Fan in her eyes at all. After all, the chi that Ning Fan released when he displayed his divine ability was only at the intermediate crossing true realm. It was not worth mentioning. Ning Fan's eyes turned gloomy. In Kei Shensi's plan, there was also a situation where he would be discovered as soon as he entered the barrier. In that case, he only needed to kill his way into the snow valley of the Yellow River and reach the location of the dust tree as soon as possible. The faster the better. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with dark purple devil light. Immediately, a large amount of dark purple divine light appeared behind him. Without saying a word, it swept towards the Phoenix demon. The Phoenix demon did not have time to react. As soon as she was swept by the divine light, her delicate body immediately turned soft and fell to the ground weakly. The long Dao weapon also fell to the ground with a clang. It shattered into specks of light and flew back into the demon's body. Charm. Charm technique. What a despicable human. How dare you use charm technique on this princess? If this princess's father knows about this, the phoenix demon's beautiful eyes were filled with anger. She was shocked because Ning Fan could subdue her in a single strike even though he was only at the intermediate crossing true realm. She was angry because her pure body was actually affected by Ning Fan's charm technique. She struggled to stand up but found that she could not do it at all. All of her magical power was sealed by the divine light. Her delicate body felt numb and weak. Moreover, there was a burning sensation in her heart. It made her, who had always been calm and serene, began to feel confused. Of course, she did not know that the divine light was the chaotic purple light that Ning Fan cultivated. It was the third type of divine ability that he comprehended from the yin-yang transformation to restrain female cultivators. If he used normal means to deal with this phoenix demon, he would need to spend some effort. Therefore, Ning Fan used charm technique in order to subdue her in the shortest time possible. You want to kill me to gain merit? Of course, I won't show you any mercy. From today onwards, you will be my human cauldron. Ning Fan said coldly. How dare you? Do you know who I am? If you really dare to treat me as your human cauldron and plunder me, I guarantee that you will regret it. The phoenix demon in purple robes reprimanded him in a threatening manner. Is that so? Ning Fan approached the phoenix demon in purple robes and activated the yin plucking finger. He tapped her several times with his finger, knocking her unconscious. After binding her with the yin imprisoning rope, he locked her in the repentance palace of the profound yin world. The current situation was urgent. He did not have the mood to care about this woman. He decided to capture her first. His spirit sense turned into rain and covered the entire maze. Ning Fan leaped into the air. He did not fly towards the exit. Instead, he flew towards the other direction of the maze. The others were also trapped by the void-shedding demoness. Without Ning Fan's help, some of them might have died in the maze. At this moment, at the northwestern corner of the maze, Old Monster Earth was being forced to retreat by a phoenix demon in blue robes. That phoenix demon in blue robes had a cultivation base at the mid-void-shedding realm. Even though Old Monster Earth had the defensive ability of penetrating mountains and scales, he could not withstand the frenzied attacks of the phoenix demon. Damn it! Isn't there only the true dragon clan guarding the Yellow River Snow Valley? Why is there a member of the true Phoenix clan here? According to the information provided by Old Man K, there are only 3 early void-shedding realm dragon demons guarding the entire Snow Valley. Why would I encounter a mid-void-shedding realm Phoenix demon? This is bad. I'm going to die. Just as Old Monster Earth was in despair, a ray of purplish-black divine light swept past him. The phoenix demon in blue robes who was chasing after Old Monster Earth did not notice the divine light's sneak attack. By the time she noticed it, it was already too late. Ah! As soon as the divine light swept past her, the phoenix demon in blue robes immediately fell to the ground. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock and anger. Who is it? How could you be so despicable as to use a bewitching technique on me? What answered her question was a young man in white robes using his yin plucking finger. Ning Fan quickly captured the second phoenix demon's human cauldron and brought her into the profound yin world. The bewitching technique that he had not used for many years finally showed its prowess today.